We could talk about CIA and cartels all day long. The crazy thing about this is that the Sinaloa cartel will label them inactive. They're just dismantling themselves. Now you have Jalisco cartel, one of the most violent and expansionist cartels ever, a kingpin in Mencho, who is completely under the radar, controlling all of Mexico. And you can use that to your advantage. I mean, you have the narco-corridos trending on Apple charts in Mexico, but also in the US. If you have this kind of music that's basically being like, El Mencho's my #1 dog and 4 letters until the day I die, and let's go and get the scar and you're inciting violence, but you're also inciting people to be part of something that is so much bigger. So basically it was this ranch that they discovered that served as an extermination camp. Human and bone fragments were found, 200 pairs of shoes, hundreds of items of clothing, and so Carolina's family lives there. What does your family say?
Just to give you a real life example, it's like...
Hey guys, if you're not subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and hit that like button on the video. And if you don't have time to watch this episode right now, no problem, but I'd really appreciate it if you would save it to your watch later playlist. Finally, if you'd like to follow me on Instagram and X, those links are in my description below. Thank you.
A nice double header today. Doubleheader. We had Szulc right before you.
And now we're on to the main event. Ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
Start your engines.
I thought you were going to be soft-spoken. That went up to 0 right there.
Yeah, I always hit the red.
Okay, nice job.
You're welcome.
Kat, it's good to see you again.
Likewise, Julian.
Thanks for coming on last time. And also, it was a lot of fun, but since then, it's been really cool to see you also get your own show through our mutual friend Rocco. Great guy, and doing that over on, that's on Andy Stump's network, right? You're doing it on Ironclad?
On Ironclad. It's Borderland Dispatches. And thanks, you gave me like a really good platform to talk about my reporting, which led to me having a platform where I can always talk about the reporting.
Well, I'm always happy to do that, and also you report on something that is so undercovered, meaning there are not a ton of English-speaking on-the-ground cartel journalists that we can get to come on shows. It's literally like Ed Calderon, Luis, that guy Ian Grillo, and you.
Yeah, they're good. And like the thing is too, I try to kind of take it beyond the headlines. I try my best because I like to cover the, the human impact, the human toll, everything that's going on behind the scenes too. And then, as we talked about, covering basically all of North America because I'm from Canada. Yes. So we're talking about the Canadian cartel connection, which I started doing last year and didn't really hit at first because I was the only one talking about it. Like there were like Sam Cooper, Kimball, and Canadian journalists who talk about organized crime in Canada, but I buckled down into the cartels in Canada and talked with the Sinaloa cartel associate operating in Canada, kind of got into exactly how that's going on. And now, since Trump came into office and they declared the cartels foreign terrorist organizations, Director of FBI Kash Patel is like, they're coming in through the ports of Vancouver, they're bringing in the Chinese precursors for fentanyl, making it in Canada and moving it around through their networks. Yeah, like a witch with a cauldron. Yeah, exactly. So now
we'll get into all that today. Everything you just bit off, you're going to break
like
it
a little
down fully.
Rundown, yeah.
Absolutely. But we also have Carolina in the studio today. It's great to have you, Carolina.
So excited to be here.
Carolina, yeah.
So you guys are just traveling around from show to show now?
Basically, we're doing a little tour.
You went on Sean Ryan before this, right?
Yeah, but I don't think you should put that in because what if it doesn't air?
What do you mean?
Well,
now pressure's on you, Sean. You got to air it.
Fuck off.
It's all good. Come on. Sean's a great guy.
You stay running your mouth on these.
That's not running my mouth. He wanted to record it. He invited you out there.
Oh my.
Sean's a great
People
guy.
came for the cartel tea, not for you to be like.
Not cartel tea. I'm just saying, like, you're making the rounds now. We like to see that.
We are, yeah.
You hadn't been making the rounds yet because you've been doing it for a couple years before you got to this show.
No, like a year. Yeah, well, yeah. So like a year. Well, I'd been a reporter, but
and now you're like a couple years in.
Doing the cartel thing now, or organized crime. But then now it's good because we're getting it out there.
Okay. And then Carolina, your family's from Sinaloa?
Yeah, everyone's out there basically.
They're still there.
My parents. Oh yeah, my cousins, my aunts, my grandparents, like everyone.
How is it out there these days?
There's like highs and lows, but honestly, like it's like a low every day technically. Just the people that live there, it's normal for them, right? Like you say, KATARINA. Yeah,
and
like
the violence.
it's very normalized. So essentially, like when I like speak to family members about it, I do notice like their perspective is very different from mine, and they love what KATARINA's doing. They're like, someone's talking about this, because I do have family members who like see it more than others, like want this to be out, want this to be over. So definitely like a thing.
They're tired of it.
So that's interesting. So your family was a fan of Kat too, and your family also like lives there.
Well, they found Kat through me because I made her a huge deal because I found her on your podcast. I was like,
Very cool.
Yeah, like I'm a fan of your show, and I watched your segment together. Like I would watch your stuff prior to Kat, but then I saw her and I was like, who's this girl? Like talking about the cartel in Sinaloa, and I'm like, oh, she's cute too. Like
We're friends.
Yeah, we're friends now.
That's very cool.
And so
through this show.
Yeah.
yes, and so I actually do nails. So we met. You can tell them like how we met.
I'm not the guy to like grade nails, but I will say I looked through your Instagram this afternoon when you got here.
And now he's getting a full set.
It's no, but I will not be, but it's no joke. I'm very, very
Thank
impressed.
you.
It's
Thank
like
you so
a lot of
much.
artistry going on.
Yes,
I
we
feel
did.
it would feel very strange to like even touch those nails because it's like touching a Picasso. It's like, I don't want to break that.
Touching a Picasso.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we did like some cutesy like white nails on her.
Okay.
They're so
you went
cute.
for the classy.
Yeah,
classic
we
we
did
look.
classy.
classy.
Cute
But
classy
she does
look.
a lot of cool stuff. She's
I
very
saw
talented.
them with espresso beans on it and shit.
yeah, and
That
she
was
does like
whoa.
airbrushing. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, but it brought us together. I texted
Yeah.
her like, "Hey, I saw you and Julian Dorey. Like, I would love to do your nails if you're ever in the Bay Area. Like, I got you." And she never goes, and she just so happened to
be
go
there,
that
yeah.
week.
Very cool.
And we did that, and she was like, "My family and I respect your reporting," which is so cool because I get a lot of too.
Yes, I
So-
was just gonna say that's perfect because your family's on the ground. So
Yes.
when you get about like, what the fuck does this girl know? And you have people on the ground like, yep, that's right.
Yes.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
I appreciate that. Mi plebada sinaloense.
Yeah, we
Gracias.
recorded while we did nails, and so
Nails and news.
I
Yeah.
did see that. That was very creative. I respect that.
well,
brain.
You're inspiration to a lot of people.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Very cool. So I hope you guys keep doing that.
for
We will.
sure.
So that's definitely never been done before. Nails and cartels. Yeah, interesting combination. But anyway, so we'll get through. We'll just go all over the place today. We'll
We've
go
got a
from
lot to
Mexico,
cover.
We got a lot to cover. But the Canada thing is very interesting, obviously, because you said like you're from there too. You've been pulling on this thread
Yeah.
for a while. But last time when you were on episode 264 with me in the fall, well, I mean, we didn't put that out till January, but you told me about the time where you went into the fentanyl lab in Canada. With a fixer.
Yeah.
So we went through that story. Refresh people on that, and then I want to know what you've kind of uncovered since then.
Okay, so last summer, I had a source who's a Sinaloa cartel associate operating in Canada. Now, it's really important to keep in mind that for the longest time, Canada didn't have a strict visa requirement the way the U.S. did for Mexican nationals looking to just go into Canada on tourist visas. They didn't have to go through like an application process with payment. It was super simple. And so during Trump's first administration, the southern border started to kind of get locked down. And because it was so easy for these guys to get to Canada, they were like, all right, let's switch up how we're running operations. We can't take advantage of the southern border in the same way we once were. So let's go to the northern border. The Canadian border is one of the longest unprotected borders in the world. It's more than 5,000 miles.
Right.
And the American border is like a little bit over 2,000 miles. And you guys have a wall and just a lot of... Kind of, yeah. And there's and that
got some holes
that
in it.
also doesn't stop smuggling, because literally just a few weeks ago, this super state-of-the-art underground tunnel was found in El Paso, Juarez, that was smuggling a shit ton of drugs and
Wait,
people.
can we pull that up? It
You
was in
probably
El
can.
Paso,
Yeah,
Juarez?
this just happened a few weeks ago, actually.
Interessante. Okay.
And
keep going.
so basically, but the point of this is that the Canadian border is massive and it's largely unprotected. There are certainly some tech in place that like thermal technology, whatever. There's CBP that are monitoring.
Like drones and stuff too?
No.
No.
They don't have drones.
Wow.
And so this was going under the radar for so long, I would say since like 2016. And so then they moved operations up there, the cartels. They started to network with local Canadian criminal organizations and basically told them, look, we're here now. We have direct connections to the Chinese groups supplying the precursors. There are organized crime groups in Canada that are of predominantly Chinese heritage. So let's band together, up our profits, and up our global networks and our abilities to smuggle into the United States. So last summer, I get in touch with someone who's doing just that and has been for a couple of years, and basically told me that, you know, he's a little bit worried just because they're upping pill production, and that starts to draw a lot of attention. And we'll see that in a lot of like the seizures, whether that be in Canada or the US. Fentanyl pill seizures is like a big...
Fentanyl pills?
Yeah. It's like a big deal because it's worth a lot of money. It's really efficient to traffic because you can just put these pills in a bunch of bags, you know, cover them up, lightweight, whatever you want to call it. It's not like trafficking a AK-47. A little harder to hide that up your ass. So they're not putting it up their ass. It's just, I'm just being facetious. But essentially, they moved into Canada. They started networking with local organized crime groups and started trafficking it into the U.S. through this largely unprotected border.
Dumb question. I'm sorry to
go ahead.
Stop you, but like when you say local organized crime groups in Canada, what does that look like?
The United Nations, Brothers Keepers, Hell's Angels, Red Scorpion. Those are.
You said the United Nations first?
It's called not the actual United. It's a gang called. Come on, get a clue, Julian.
Sorry.
Yeah, you just got all the delegates there sitting at the round table, decorum. Like, no.
I just think of Canada and it's like hockey and beer, and I can't picture like what their
and that's
organized
exactly
crime
part of
looks
the problem, right?
Yeah.
Because if you think of Canada and all you think about is hockey, beer, and what's like, thank you, sorry, hey. Then you don't think that a lot of fentanyl is being produced in Canada. Precursors are being trafficked into Canada, and then the fentanyl that's being produced there is being trafficked into the U.S.
Good cover.
And the numbers don't reflect that because the numbers on both sides of the border are saying that less than 1% of the fentanyl in the United States is coming from Canada. And that is just untrue. And I don't say this as speculation. It's really important for me to mention that I have a source who I can't name, and so you can take it however you want. I mean, I don't really care. Completely legit source that specializes, he's law enforcement and specializes in organized crime and all of these criminal syndicates in Canada. And we talk regularly, and he tells me that maybe less than 1% is getting seized.
If you've been looking for an online cannabis company that ships federally legal THC right to your door, boy, do I got the brand for you. I'm talking about Mood.com's incredible line of functional gummies. And right now, you can get 20% off your first order at Mood.com using promo code Julian at checkout. Mood finds a way to combine THC with carefully selected functional ingredients to target nearly every quote-unquote mood and health concern that you can think of. Forget one-size-fits-all supplements that only get you high. Mood's functional gummies are optimized to kick in as little as 15 minutes and take you right to the mood you're looking for. Whether that's Magic Mind gummies for deep work and creativity, PMS support to ease cramps and balance mood swings, or their sexual euphoria gummies to help you feel ready for action and turn every touch into a full body experience. Listen, you can find gummies to just get you high pretty much anywhere these days, but Mood's functional gummies combine premium federally legal THC with targeted botanicals to make them quite simply better than the rest of the pack. And everything ships discreetly right to your door. No dispensary lines, no awkward conversations, just better days and nights delivered to your doorstep. Best of all, not only is every Mood product backed by a 100-day satisfaction guarantee, but as I mentioned, listeners can get 20% off their first order today using code Julian, Julian, at checkout. So head on over to Mood.com, link in my description below, find the functional gummy that matches exactly what you're looking looking for, and let mood help you discover your perfect mood. And once again, don't forget to use promo code Julian when you check out to save 20% off your first order.
But we certainly aren't contributing to less than 1% of the fentanyl in the U.S.
How did you cultivate that source? Are you
that source actually reached out to me
Interesting.
through a law enforcement person that I've interviewed on public record. So the person who I've spoken to on public record and named this person in reports put us in touch. So it's a complete legit person.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
when did that happen? When did he reach out?
Literally after I was on your podcast. Or after it aired.
Very cool.
Yeah, because it aired a little bit after we actually shot it.
Yeah. I held that one for like 2.5 months.
Too long, because then it was all dated by the time it came out.
Nah,
so
we were
you guys
okay.
need to stop shitting
We
on
were
me.
okay. Sometimes we you've seen it. Sometimes
We were
we gotta
okay, yeah.
film when people are in town, and then it's like I have one that's evergreen and then one that's got to get out right away.
Okay, I don't
and,
need the
you
whole
know.
spiel, Julian. It's fine.
I'm sorry.
It's,
I gotta explain
I accept
myself,
it. It's fine.
You know.
Anyways.
Women need an explanation. It's you know.
Just us? Have you? Okay, yeah. You're really going to start that right now? I didn't realize I got invited to Andrew Tate show.
Oh God, no.
Here we go again with
We're
this
not
shit.
like that here. We're not the,
Anyways,
the Tate pill.
On the fentanyl note, so they started making all this shit. And it was really simple for them because they have this open border and they have a lot of people who were looking for extra cash because the Canadian economy is just simply objectively not doing well and hasn't been since COVID, maybe even before that. I mean, you know, people can argue whatever they want. And so there were a lot of people who were willing to be mules. And also, along a lot of the Canadian border region, there are people who own light aircrafts. And yeah, so it made it very simple for them to fly across. Or if they had like a racer, like a 4x4, is that what you call it? Like a quadrimoto?
Yeah, like a quad.
Yeah, a quad. Yeah. I feel like Hilaria Baldwin be like, how do you...
I was born in Mexico.
How do you say cucumber in English? That's not what I'm doing. There's just so many ways to say that. A 4x4, right?
Man, I understand Alec Baldwin so much better since I've understood what she's up to.
Oh my God, poor guy.
Poor guy.
It's rough
She ain't
over
worth
there.
it.
I watched a little bit of the show and I was like, it looks like hell on earth. Hell no. Oh my God. Bury me alive instead. Anyways, so there's people who own light aircrafts. There's people who own 4x4s because it's a lot of like farmland and residential areas. And so a lot of these people are getting hired, and they're making to run like whatever the batch is, like a batch of fentanyl, however many pills were produced in like a batch that they want to traffic, upwards of $150,000. Yeah, Canadian. So that's like,
What's that,
you'd have
100K?
to, around 100,000. I think I can't do the math off the top of my head. I'm a journalist.
It's all good.
So
Close enough.
anyways, they're making a shit ton of cash. They're operating basically under the radar because, like you said, what's Canada? Beers and hockey. So you wouldn't think that you have these regular schmegular people running $150,000 worth. Well, maybe not worth, but they're making $150,000 to run a full batch of fentanyl pills into the U.S. They're literally just driving across or flying across or riding across the border, or even in some cases walking across. In one of my episodes of the dispatches, I literally went to an open border area where I'm standing there, and on one side I'm standing on Canadian grass, and right behind me you can literally just walk. There's a bit of a ditch, but you could just hop across and you're in the US. Like, it just so happened that I actually came across a CBP officer when I was there, which so funny because there's so many miles of
What are the chances?
But also any sort of oversight or monitoring that there is, at least from my observations, it's coming from the American side. And it's simply due to the fact that the Canadian law enforcement just doesn't have the resources to deal with it. I mean, okay, I say this time and time again, and we actually talked about this last time I was here. I have no faith in the Canadian justice system because they don't even have the capacity to deal with domestic crime. So how could we possibly expect them to deal with transnational organized crime?
What were you telling me outside before the podcast?
That was a dramatization, but certainly it's like But you could like Google a case right now. Bring something up. Seriously. Bring something up of like a violent sex offender who gets like a few months of probation and is back out in the community.
In Canada.
Yes. It's so
That's sick.
bad. I mean, people are committing violent crimes and walking free, and these are Canadian citizens, and it's...
Is that a recent, like in the last 10 years phenomenon?
Yeah.
What do you think that is?
The government. Like it was the prime minister that we had, and the way everything just kind of
Trudeau.
Yeah. And I don't vote. So I don't participate in politics. I'm like just I have my beliefs and I just go with that, whatever. It's not a reflection of a certain political party. But at the end of the day, I believe in like justice, right?
Yeah.
And that was a big reason. We talked about this too, why I stopped doing journalism in Canada, because I felt like it was like child murder after child murder and all this up stuff. Granny gets pushed onto the train tracks, breaks both her arms, and Buddy is picked up by the cops and out in like a few weeks. And I just couldn't deal with that, because you can only do so much of that before you start to go insane.
Sure.
And so anyways, now you have this big beast in Canada of cartels operating there with organized crime groups that were operating with no problem. And now you add cartels into that mix. Be so for real. You really think... Let me give a great example of this, okay? And this really stood out to me, and I hope I can get it across. When the head of the RCMP a few weeks or months ago was questioned, how many individual organized crime groups are operating currently in Canada? I don't know off the top of my head. Keep in mind that prior to this, CSIS, which is basically Canadian like intelligence, had released a report detailing organized crime groups operating in Canada. Okay, just keep that in mind. So also for viewer context, RCMP is our national police force, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and the head of this police force is being asked how many. So he, I don't know, kind of stumbling. The question is clarified. Could you give us maybe a ballpark number of how many individual organized crime groups there are in Canada right now? Off the top of my head, maybe 4,000.
4,000.
4,000 says that number.
Whoa.
Deadass. And the viewers are going to hate that language. And they hate when I do that. And then, so the person who's asking goes, okay, 4,000? With 4,000 individual organized crime groups with their own individual leadership and networks. And he says, yeah, about 4,000. That CSIS report that had just come out detailed 668 organized crime groups. So how the do you expect Canadian law enforcement to tackle a problem that they don't even have proper intel or communications on?
4,000 sounds crazy.
And so blown out of proportion compared to 668. Also, I mean, let's be so for real for a moment. If 4,000 individual organized crime groups were operating in Canada, that's like gangland.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, it's nuts, yeah.
4,000, like the world would know about that. Like, be so for real right now. There's not even 4,000 individual cartels operating in Mexico. And you're trying to tell me that there's 4,000 OCGs in Canada? Oh, come on. Like, I couldn't even wrap my head around that answer. I was like, resign right now.
Yeah.
But, so this is a huge problem. And it's feeding the fentanyl crisis. And I know that this doesn't get clicks, but the point is, the reason why this has become an issue, the cartels and the fentanyl, is because so many tens of thousands of people are dying on an annual basis. And
More than that.
More than that. Yeah. Okay, if we're talking in the context, right?
Yeah.
So in COVID, actually, in Canada, in BC, which is the West Coast, the province that Vancouver is in.
British Columbia?
Yes.
See, I know my shit.
Good job. Yeah. You could be basically Canadian.
4.5 gold stars.
Welcome over. So this is basically where the cartel started their operations, and that's because we have the Port of Vancouver. And now, if you want an accurate less than 1% number, less than 1% of all cargo that's coming into the Port of Vancouver is searched. Yep. Let that sink in, everyone.
Less than 1%. How's that even? I mean, it's a port. It's got customs there. Mm-hmm. How do we know that number?
Because it's a legit number. Find it. Source it.
Yeah, let's do that. I believe you. So
and if I'm wrong, delete that. But I swear I'm right.
Port of
Vancouver.
1%
of cargo. How much? What
searched.
percentage of cargo is being searched?
Do we know what's causing that incompetency at all, or just? Yeah, there it is. The claim, it cannot be confirmed or denied.
Well, I'm confirming it.
While the search results discuss that doesn't say you're wrong. That discuss Port of Vancouver operations, cargo statistics, and drug seizures. They do not include the overall cargo search rate. The Canada Border Systems Agency performs customs exams on shipments, often based on algorithms and risk factors. All right, so they're already dumbing it down and saying like, all right, we're only going to check these
But it is less than 1% because I discussed this number with my organized crime law enforcement guy, and he's like, yes. And he gave me 100% yes.
Okay.
It's less than 1%. And it makes perfect sense because if you have that many people dying of fentanyl, so this is what I was getting to, is that during COVID, more people were dying of fentanyl overdose deaths than they were of COVID, to the point where the provincial health officer of British Columbia cried during one of her press conferences because of the sheer amount of people that were dying due to fentanyl. Oh, look at that. CBS, I used to work there. Everyone gives me shit for that, but I'm independent now. Don't worry.
Here we go. BC Mayor sounds alarm over rampant crime at local port as expansion looms.
And that's from 2 years ago.
Says CBSA checks less than 1% of container traffic coming through regional ports.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
So, one thing I'm not is a liar. Anyway. You can call me whatever you want, but not that.
You're not a liar. I know that.
So
you're working hard. I got it.
Thank you. Anyways, so this is like a huge problem. And the Canadian government was truly not doing anything to crack down about it, even though we knew this was a fucking crisis.
Right.
Because you have people dying at this rate. There should be some sort of swift and immediate crazy response.
I mean, we can't talk here in America either because we had this all fucked. We still have it all fucked up as well. I mean, we have literal cities like Kensington, and I forget the one out in San Francisco. What it's called? Do you know
would
what
know.
It's called?
Wait, what?
What's the fentanyl
section
crisis area in San Fran?
In San Francisco.
You're from the Bay Area.
Yeah, I just heard it for the first time myself the other day. I can't even remember.
No, I honestly don't know.
That's
you guys
okay.
don't have to.
It's a lot of.
It's like a Kensington, but like we have these.
Okay, but
throughout America as well.
The problem is the slap in the face that comes with. Yeah, it's a problem everywhere, which is why everyone's trying to crack down on this shit. The problem lies within the fact that Canada did nothing until Trump was threatening tariffs and to shut down the border. And then, okay, now we're going to implement a fentanyl czar. Okay, now we're going to look at our border. Not because thousands of Canadians were dying from this deadly opioid.
Politics.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
It's total bullshit.
It's bullshit.
That's how they are.
And then they make this guy the fentanyl czar. Make me the fentanyl czar, for fuck's sakes. You guys were denying for the longest time. No, I'm not even joking about this. Because you guys were denying for the longest time. When I was first doing the reporting on cartels in Canada and the production of fentanyl domestically, and I was reaching out to RCMP, and I'm trying to get information, I'm literally having police tell me to my face, if this was really happening, we would know about it. There's no cartels. We don't have any cases to use as examples for you to tell you that we have made arrests or shut down fentanyl labs in connection with Mexican cartels. Why? Not because it doesn't exist, but because they're not gathering that data.
Yeah, you've been there. I mean, it's like
I literally
crazy.
wanted to say, well, I'm going there tomorrow.
You want to come with?
No, literally, but I'm not a fucking narc. But it's so funny because I get the response, the press response, and it's like, well, there's no cartels, no. And I'm like, well, I have this Mexican guy from Sinaloa who's literally like, yeah, I'll come show you the fentanyl production tomorrow.
Now, how again are the cartel guys getting... So, I would imagine some of them are maybe literally coming through the Port of Vancouver, but are
no, they're
a lot
flying.
of them...
They were flying.
So, they're flying.
It was no problem.
They're flying from Mexico to Canada and no problem.
It was no problem. They were because of the visa requirement. But now there is a visa requirement. It just got re-implemented, I want to say a little over a year ago. And so now there's more checks and balances. It'll be a little bit harder because they want to know, okay, what are you coming for? How much money do you have on you? They have to check you before you even get on that flight. So, but for the longest time, it was no problem. And also because Canada was beers and hockey. Nobody thought that the cartels were going to move their operations up north. That's exactly the perfect fucking recipe for that for that to happen.
Great cover.
I would have done the same thing. Yeah, it's genius business model. So
yeah, we have to stop. It's so easy to just be like, oh, these criminals and these criminal organizations, but like, you know, you don't want to give them credit because they're terrible people. But
yeah, but I give them credit.
They're fucking smart. They know what they're doing.
They run it like a Fortune 500.
Yes.
And it's international, and I'm not being a spokesperson for the cartels being like, hoorah, look at how they go. And my reporting reflects that.
Oh, I know.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But you can certainly say, yeah, they're fucking killing it. Literally. Sorry.
That got dark fast.
Yeah, but you appreciate that, so it's okay. I can be like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Canadian thing is a major problem, and I'll keep reporting on it because I personally think it's just going to continue to get worse because the southern border at this point, well, the border, your guys' borders says that it's 96% locked down, which...
Tom Homan's saying it's 96% locked down.
Yeah.
My bullshit meter's going up. Sorry,
That's what
Tom.
I said.
Yeah.
I said, sorry, I'm yelling into
You're
it.
good.
I said, how do you even quantify that? But I guess you can, like, by seizures and stuff. But let's be so for real. If that El Paso tunnel, which, can you guys pull that up? You didn't pull that up.
The El Paso tunnel? I think we did, but you got off it.
Sorry.
Yep.
Okay, so let's take a look at this.
El Paso, federal partners discover
January
major cross-border.
14th.
Okay, special agents with Homeland Security investigations, El Paso along the U.S. border uncovered a sophisticated cross-border tunnel on January 8th. HSI El Paso is leading the investigation to prosecute those responsible.
Show the tunnel.
Upon excavation of the smuggling tunnel, it has been determined that the tunnel extends under the United States-Mexico border into the Boone Street storm drain in the El Paso area, approximately 4 feet across and 6 feet in height. The tunnel is held up by 2x4 wood beams and is equipped with electricity, ventilation system, and a...
Bro,
It appears to be
electricity and
constructed
ventilation.
Within the last year, HSI El Paso is working closely with HSI Juarez, they seem like real straight shooters, who is coordinating with the government of Mexico to ensure the man-made tunnel from El... They're probably coordinating with the fucking capo
cartel.
of the
Yes!
cartel. Like, yeah, no, we got this, amigo.
We'll supply the ventilation supplies. But show the tunnel. Is there's an inside picture. Try to find an inside picture of it because it looks insane.
Yeah, that's outside right there. So El Paso tunnel inside. I remember seeing, I feel like I saw this. I hope I'm thinking of the right one. Remember when El Chapo
Yeah.
got out of prison and they showed like the
tunnel.
Was that? They showed the
through
motorcycle with the it was like the
tracks.
motorcycle tracks and rail.
Yes. And like, because he did it through under the jail.
And he had a ventilation system.
He
I
had
think,
everything.
down there. Yeah.
And also like
White glove service.
they had legit what?
White glove service. He was
Oh
the
yeah.
boss.
He had legit architects building that for him.
Oh, I bet he did.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's it.
Whoa.
Look.
Is that the one on the right side
Yep,
you're looking for?
That is the one. Make it big.
It's like a fucking Hamas tunnel. Do we have it? View all photos. Okay, that's the outside.
So that's how you go.
There.
Look at that.
Is that the ventilation? Yeah, look at
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're telling me it's 96% secured? Bro.
that. Yeah, no shot.
No
he
sh-
looks like he's having the toughest day at all times. Like Tom Homan, he just looks tired.
Okay,
He looks like
we
he's
don't
been in
go
a
for
bad
people-
marriage for, I don't know who his wife is, but he looks like he's a dude who's been stuck in a
Can
bad
you bring
marriage
up
for
him?
like 30
Can you bring him
years.
up with his wife, please, so we
No,
can talk
don't.
shit?
Don't. He's just always like, we're going to stop the crime coming across the borders, and
He's over it.
if you break into this country, you're going out. That's it.
You're going to El Salvador.
That's it. El Salvador.
One
All
way
right,
ticket.
so you were bringing this up because this one was in El Paso, and were they smuggling
Drugs and people.
and people?
Yeah. Human smuggling.
What is that? Children?
Yeah,
Or-
it's anything.
It's
There's a
anything.
huge problem with unaccompanied minors illegally crossing the border
Unaccompanied, meaning they're just coming with a
by
coyote.
themselves. Yes. Just imagine, like, I don't want to talk about it because I don't like this shit, but just imagine like what that can lead to.
Oh, it's horrible.
Literally, actually, Jorge did this crazy report
Yeah. I
on
remember.
how there was this little girl. She was, I think, 10 years old alone. All she had was like a phone number.
Yeah.
And they called that phone number because like the group that she was with and the coyote got picked up by ICE, I think, and then, or CBP. And then they called that phone number and the mom was like freaking out, like hoping that the daughter was just still alive, like just hoping for the best. I mean, I don't have kids, but if I did, there's no way. I don't even think any level of desperation, but I also don't want to say that because I don't know. But that's just like, that's child abuse. And so they're going through those tunnels, but then allegedly it's 96% secure. But I don't even know how you would quantify that. That's like this, to me, that number is the same number as like less than 1% of fentanyl in the States is coming from Canada. I just don't buy it. Because I've seen it.
You can't fix that. I'm sorry. It's been, what, 5 months, 6 months, whatever. You can't fix a completely open, however many thousands of miles it is, border, which is effectively
Which
what
one?
we had. The southern border.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
it's
not
like
talking about
2000
Canada right now.
something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're not fixing like an entire broken system.
Across 4 states? Be so for real.
No, that's not.
That's
happening.
vast.
It is vast.
And desert.
Yeah.
We're just playing word games
no,
now.
No,
vast,
seriously.
desert, dry.
Yeah, and like you have valleys and rivers and all this shit, and you have a system that's been in place with these cartels knowing where to go and how to get people there. And it's not like you can just have like a line, like, you know, of holding hands of like Homeland Security people or Border Patrol people standing at the border. It's not how it works.
And then also on the Mexican side, the president, Claudia Sheinbaum, deployed additional couple thousand troops to the Mexican side of the border because that also, as Trump came into office, became a priority for her for the bilateral actions to lock down the border.
What happened? They had talks. Trump was going to put tariffs on.
Yeah, and he did it anyways.
He did it, but then he pulled them off.
Then he pulled them off. It was like, that was a crazy news day for me.
Yeah, what happened there again?
It was like one day, I think it was, okay, he said, I'm going to put tariffs on if they don't lock down the border. She deploys an additional, I think, 11,000 troops, something like that. Yeah. Deploys, yeah. But then 10,000. But then I think she increased that. And then...
This is February 6th.
Yeah. So then he says, whatever. She does that. He said, I'm going to do tariffs. Lock it down. She does what she can to lock it down, I guess. And then he puts tariffs. And then she's like, I'm going to respond to the tariffs on Sunday. And I think that gave like a couple days in between when he put the tariffs on and when she was going to respond to it. In that time, he ended up rescinding the tariffs. That sounds so complicated. I'm sorry. That was also a crazy work week for me. It was like boom, 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 radio hits.
Yeah.
And so then he took the tariffs off. I don't even know where we're in the state. Like, what is it right now? Do we have tariffs or not?
The tariffs thing is happening in so many countries at the same time.
It's
and
so
some
confusing.
are on, some are off. It's like, you know,
And-
I'm almost just like watching the stock market and saying, well, I guess we have less up today, you know? Like, if it's up.
It's a crazy ride.
Yeah.
And so a lot of Mexican people were obviously pissed because then it was like, well, you know, I'm speaking on behalf of the Mexican population here, but I was seeing a lot of the rhetoric and speaking to a lot of people. And Mexican government did kind of do their part in trying to lock down the border. In my opinion, they did more than Canada did in locking down the border. And
Mexico.
Yeah. And I think that's why Trump was like, he was attacking Canada a lot more than he was attacking Mexico with the whole like, what was he saying, that Canada is going to become another state? And so, but he wasn't saying that about Mexico. And I think, I mean, you know, take all of that type of shit with a grain of salt. But at the end of the day, I really do think it was because, especially now, Kash Patel is saying it publicly, but they knew, or at least they were looking for that issue that was happening with the trafficking at the northern border. And so when Claudia Sheinbaum took the efforts to try to lock down, help with those bilateral efforts to lock down that southern border, it was like federal administration could be like, okay, this is happening. And well, now borders are saying it's working. 96% of it is shut down or locked down.
You might have changed a 5 to a 9.
Yeah, I'd say like give or take, right?
Give or take 4.
But in Canada, it remains a large problem. And I don't think it's going to stop just because, honestly, and this is what even my law enforcement sources tell me, Canadian law enforcement, you don't need a source to believe this. It just doesn't have the resources to deal with something of this nature. And recently...
It's also new to them.
But it's not.
It's not, this isn't built 50, 60 years into their law enforcement background. Like, this is something really over probably the last decade, you might say.
And also, it was kind of, I almost felt like their reactions to this, especially if you look at, like, recent seizure reports, it almost seems like they want to kind of ignore the problem and see if it just kind of dies down on its own or if the world doesn't notice.
Good strategy.
Right?
That'll work out.
And so one thing that really stood out to me when I knew it was a problem over this past year because I've been like really focused on it. But about a month ago, a bunch of WhatsApp group chats for certain cartels were leaked, recruitment group chats. And I had actually gotten into some cartel.
They let you in it?
Well, they didn't fucking know it was me, Julian. Sorry, that was so aggressive.
Continue.
Anyways, I got into some WhatsApp cartel recruitment group chats. And
he poses like a 16-year-old boy.
I'm not telling you who I posed as.
Okay. I'm just saying, maybe you did.
You know what? Let me tell you exactly how I did it then, right now.
Yeah, they're not going to guess which
viewers
group
at
chat
home,
it
you
was.
want to get in? Yeah, go subscribe to my Substack. That's next, baby. So basically, it was in these tell me why in one of the group chats that I was in and in some of the leaked chats. Right away, first thing that stood out to me, Canadian area codes were in those group chats. And then, okay, so I clocked that, right? Holy fuck. There's Canadians. I don't know if they're Mexican Canadians,
people on the ground,
Mexican nationals living in Canada. I don't know.
Hey guys, if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It's a huge, huge help. Thank you.
There are Canadians, though, or people with Canadian phone numbers who are trying to be recruited into Mexican cartels. And I'm like, no fucking way. But okay. So a little bit of time passes by. A few weeks go by. I have a guy tell me and show me that he was offered $55,000 to take out hits in Canada for the cartels. Yes. And I'm like, this is exactly the type of motherfucker that's in those group chats.
Yeah.
And he's Canadian as fuck from the East Coast. Born and raised. Lived in Colombia for a little while, then made his way to Mexico. And keep in mind
that... he lived in Colombia. You got indoctrinated. Yeah.
Well, also, like, Mexican drug cartels have so many ties in Colombia.
Oh, sure.
So you go to Colombia, you're basically in direct contact with the cartels. And then you go to Mexico, and then you go back to Canada. Quebec, I'm going to burn it. I'm going to say he went back to Quebec. Because one thing is for sure. In Canada, a lot of the fentanyl production and precursor trafficking is happening on the West Coast. On the East Coast, it's where they're directly hiring Canadian nationals to work for them as enforcers, whether that's like hitmen or...
Why on the East Coast?
I don't know, but that's just how they're doing it. I haven't asked yet.
But all their distribution and stuff is happening on the West Coast.
Yeah, but they want to have control across the board. But keep in mind, because we have the Port of Vancouver, so that's where that fentanyl precursor stuff is going to come in. But then, of course, you have people... It's going both ways. It's going across the board. But the main things that are happening on the East Coast are hiring these people. And also this leads into the why, is because most of the straw buying, so arms trafficking of guns from the U.S. into Canada is happening at the East Coast, because right there you have Michigan and New York. So...
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, because also for viewer understanding, we have really strict gun policy in Canada. So straw buying is happening in Canada the same way it's happening in Mexico. You have Americans that are bringing in American manufactured arms into Canada and into Mexico. And we know this is a fact. We know that American guns are arming the cartels because over 70% of arms that are found at Mexican crime scenes are American made. And the Mexican government actually just lost a Supreme Court case against American manufacturers to be able to sue them for arming the cartels directly.
Now, does some of this go back? I mean, obviously, like the famous one is like Operation Fast and Furious and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah.
So does it go back to that, but also other traceable covert operations that maybe we don't know about?
Likely.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. And so...
I'd be pissed about that down there. Are you kidding me? Fuck yeah.
But then people say, well, it's the job of like Mexican border authorities to make sure those guns aren't coming through.
Yeah, but fuck that. If we're doing it, that's wrong.
Huh.
No, it is.
I didn't think you'd have that take.
Of course I'd have that take. Listen, we do some fucked up shit sometimes. And like, now here's the thing. I understand, like, with national security, sometimes there's, like, a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And you gotta crack a few eggs to make an omelet. But there's just some stuff where it doesn't go down right with me when you see, I don't give a fuck where it is, whether it's here or somewhere else, where you see innocent women and kids get caught in the middle of it. Like, and that's my taxpayer money going to that. And
yeah.
I do feel a certain type of way about that.
Yeah. So that's basically across the board. Canada has a major issue. They have a ton of cartels, and I was gonna say, and so does Mexico. Yeah, no shit. Like trying to close that thought.
Now here's what's interesting. Though.
Yeah.
Since you were last here, Trump got reelected. He got into office, and they declared a terrorism designation on the cartels.
Foreign terrorist organizations. So now cartels are basically the same as ISIS, Al Qaeda, Taliban, whatever you name it.
So before we go to Mexico with that and how that works, if the cartels are operating in Canada, a country on our north border that we have a friendly relationship with on a lot of stuff, how does our terrorism policy apply to us litigating that potentially in Canada?
Well, Canada followed suit and declared them FTOs right after the U.S. did.
Oh.
Yeah, so that changes the game a bit. The one thing is, though, I'm fairly certain that I don't think any associates in Canada are going to actually be charged as foreign terrorists.
That's what I'm saying. They can't. You were just telling me they can't even handle it at a law enforcement level.
But they're doing
the
this.
government's going to handle it at a military terrorism level?
So for real, right?
Yeah.
And then actually the U.S. just charged the first person under this act, a woman in El Paso. This was like 2 weeks ago, a woman in El Paso who was straw buying and had conspiracy to traffic for the Jalisco New Generation cartel. She's the first person now who's been charged as I think
terrorist?
It's like material to aid here. Yeah. Cause it's a little bit, like court talk, lots of jargon.
Mexican woman indicted in El Paso on reportedly providing grenades, firearms.
Why are you guys acting surprised?
To cartels. An indictment unsealed on Friday. If we could scroll down, Deef. In El Paso is the first in the nation to charge a Mexican national with providing material support to a designated foreign terrorist organization based on her involvement with the Cartel del Jalisco.
De Jalisco Nueva Generación.
Right, including providing the cartel with grenades and engaging in smuggling, firearms trafficking, bulk cash smuggling, and narcotics trafficking on its behalf, according to court documents.
Maria del Rosario
Navarro Sanchez, 39 of Mexico. No, I will not sign up for that. Conspired with others to provide and did not attempt to provide grenades. Did attempt to provide grenades to CJNG, a designated foreign terrorist organization.
You're like those kids in school. Remember when like the teacher would randomly call on you to read, and when that one kid would go, you're like, "Fuck, not this kid." Like stutters over here. Jesus, pick me instead. I'll read the whole fucking book if you want.
You're lucky it's late. I'm letting you get away with all these. It's been a long day.
You deserve it. No one gives you shit, so it's good.
No one gives me shit? Oh
Who gives you shit?
Oh, you
on the show?
You should read the internet. On the show? Yeah, sure, all the time we bullshit.
Beat them up.
That's what we do, back and forth. It's fun. I like getting
I'll go all FTO on their ass.
That's right. I bet you what. You're tough. You're definitely tough. But you have to be to do what you do.
Yeah.
You
I'm not gonna be a bitch.
You gotta have brass balls. To
Thank
be
you.
22 when you did.
Okay, I'm 24.
I know, but like when you first went to do it.
Yeah.
And be like, I'm going to go move down to Sinaloa and cover the cartels.
It wasn't like that. I also didn't live in Sinaloa.
Whatever. You went down to Mexico and you're covering, let's call it what it is, like the worst of the worst.
Basically.
Takes a lot of guts.
Yeah, but it's like, I still have fear sometimes, but we just overcome it for the sake of free press and telling a good story and making sure people's voices are heard.
It's a good attitude to have. I like it.
Yeah.
So, but on the terrorism designation, what is the strategy? Like, this was a national who was arrested in El Paso. Okay, that makes sense. She's in America. Easy. You pick her up. She has grenades. Cool. On the other side of the border, though, there's a sovereign government that runs that country.
Yes.
And now there's groups in there that our government has said they're terrorists. Are we going to, start drone striking them in the hills of Sinaloa?
Not yet.
How's this working, and what's been the reaction in Mexico to it?
Okay, first of all, the strategy is to attack the financial pipelines and the assets that are based in America, because most of these people who are associated with or operating for the cartels have most of their money in the United States through shell companies, properties, whatever you name it, and laundering money through the U.S. So if they can't clean their money, they don't have money. And if you target the financial pipeline of the cartels, that's immediately how you dismantle them, basically. Well, in my opinion, it's objectively, it's the way you dismantle a criminal organization. No money, no power.
Right.
So that's the objective of this. It's not necessarily like the drone strikes and getting tier 1 operators, boots on the ground, let's fuck them up. However, it could potentially be getting to that point. Why? And this also leads into your next question about the Mexican reaction. There has been this kind of covert bilateral operations that have been going on between U.S. law enforcement and Mexican authorities. So just a few weeks ago, for example, ICE tweeted about 3 fentanyl lab raids in Sinaloa, and the picture, it's Mexican forces, but for some reason, I guess it was because ICE tweeted it and the way they looked, I think someone had an American flag patch, something like that. People were like, holy fuck, there's American boots on the ground conducting these operations in Mexico. And people freaked out, and ICE clarified, and they were like, no, between American intelligence and Mexican authorities, we conducted this operation together. And so there are also, so that's actually the photo.
You want me to read this tweet?
You don't have, well, I kind of explained it already, but yeah, so you can see it's ICE HSI has been working closely with FGR, AIC, Sedena, and Marina to identify drug precursor shipments from China and take out drug production labs by the cartels in Mexico. This was particularly in Sinaloa. You see 3 large-scale synthetic labs were seized, shut down. And then this photo, this tweet for some reason led to some sort of, it wasn't actually this tweet. This is the clarification. I don't even think the original is up anymore. It led to some sort of weird confusion of people thinking that, oh my God, U.S. boots are on the ground here. Like, let's go, war zone. But I find that, between that operation, between all of the CIA planes flying over, they have Mexico's permission, over northern Mexican states.
Wait, CIA planes are flying over northern Mexican
we can track
states
them right now.
Openly right now?
Yep. You can literally watch them live.
I mean, obviously we know the CIA is all over Mexico. I just don't hear about them, announcing their fucking flight plans.
It's definitely like a... Hey,
but obviously it's open
doing,
enough that we're talking about it on a fucking podcast.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, hey, look at this. We're being open about it. What the fuck else is going on?
Yeah.
Then they docked this major military vessel at the port of Veracruz in Mexico. And it was just all of this stuff was happening at once that I do believe, and I talked about this at the beginning of the FTO designation, but now it's it's slowly leading into that, hey, American boots could eventually get on the ground in Mexico. And I'm not trying to fearmonger or sensationalize this. It just appears that way based on the current way they're running operations to dismantle the cartels or attempt to. Also, this certainly started, this started before Trump. I mean, we could talk about fucking CIA and cartels all day long.
Oh my God, it's.
But we're not getting into that.
It's as American as apple pie.
Yeah, truly. And as American as Cracker Barrel, which we love, by the way.
Have you seen my episodes of Matt Hedger?
No, I don't watch any of your episodes. Boring.
Thank you. I'm glad.
Kidding.
That's very nice of you. But I had him on for 275 and 290. And the only reason he can talk publicly is because a foreign intelligence organization outed his cell. There was a leak. And they outed him on the dark web a year and a half ago, and he actually had to be pulled. And he can't go to a lot of countries anymore. But he was a CIA knock, where his job, meaning non-official cover, his job was to be an international criminal, a money launderer. And he ended up getting into the cartels as one of their chief money launderers. And he was the guy who flipped he couldn't say which bank, but a top 10 bank and a top 10 banker at that bank, a normal guy, flipped him to start money laundering for the cartels. And point being, he's one example that we get to hear from, who's a piece on the chessboard on this huge board that has a lot of moving pieces on all different shit around the world. But he's one piece we get to hear from to show that it's whether you agree with it or not is a whole different question. But the CIA and other organizations as well, espionage organizations around the world, are willing to use organizations like the cartels, not stop them, not investigate them, not doing anything to them, literally leverage them to get to be access points for other things related to national security.
For sure.
And it's holy fuck, the moral implications of
that.
It's fucked.
I know, I agree. And that's a big thing too with what we're seeing right now in Sinaloa. Oh, El Mayo, a leader of one of the factions of the Sinaloa cartel, somehow ends up in the US. Now he's, facing trial or whatever it is. And
have you heard some new information there?
No, that's in limbo.
So bizarre,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
It's so under wraps.
It's so under wraps, and then it just keeps getting weirder because then they get him over there, and then, okay, it's like a whole fucking hydra here because they get him over there, and then there's all this infighting, and you slowly are seeing or have seen the Sinaloa cartel dismantling itself, and then...
Wait, it's dismantling itself because of this?
Okay, wait, yeah. And then... Yeah. Okay. Jalisco cartel, the new generation cartel, is like...
You're on one today. It's funny.
Is that bad?
No.
She's been saying that.
It's good.
She says I'm like today. Cracked out.
No, you're
like
doing
ready
good.
to go. You're doing good.
Yeah, I know you're doing good.
Everyone,
I'm playing right
actually too lately. I don't know. It's like I'm trying to like I'm getting it all out, but everyone lately thinks I'm on drugs. Like on all the dispatches, and they're definitely gonna think I'm on one on your podcast.
They think you're on. No.
People, because of my jaw, because my jaw's crooked, so people are like, she's definitely rolling on Molly, or she like popped a perk, or
No. That's not what I mean when I say you're on one.
No, like
man, you just took that to a whole different level.
Oh yeah, because see, I mean, I have it internalized.
Like, the attitude's turned on. Like, bitch, I'm talking. Let's go.
And you fucking interrupted it. Okay.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry. I just had to make that point.
I don't do drugs. Okay. So. Yeah, it's like a hydra because basically what happens is they get okay, fuck. Laugh it out. Let it out, guys.
We're good.
I love funny men.
Okay. It was a hydra.
Yeah.
That's what you were saying.
So basically they get El Mayo into the States. The Sinaloa cartel is like there's so much infighting. They're literally like we'll label them inactive. Like they're just dismantling themselves. Next thing you know, Jalisco cartel is obviously they've been powerful since their initiation, like 2010. They're one of the most violent. I think the DEA actually calls them one of the most violent and expansionist cartels ever. And because they have just managed to garner so much power across all 32 states in Mexico. And so then you hear that, CJNG is actually going to align with the Chapitos faction of the cartel. Next thing you know, family members of El Chapo end up crossing the TJ San Diego border and now have visas in the U.S. and can stay there because they need to be safe. Yes. This just happened. Pull it up.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm not looking at you like I don't believe you. I'm just like, holy shit.
It's crazy.
How close are these family members? Like cousins?
Yeah. Cousins, aunts, whatever.
Who were a part of the organization?
Well, allegedly not. They're just fake.
Okay. Yeah, I believe you.
Let's be fucking for real.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyways, this happened. So now you got them in the States. Now you have his son facing... Ovidio has a plea deal.
So we got this article right up. 17 members of a cartel kingpin's family were escorted into California from Mexico. Why? Okay, so Mexico's security chief confirmed reports that... this is May 13, 2025.
Yeah, told you just now.
Yep, confirmed reports that relatives of drug kingpin Joaquin El Chapo Guzman were allowed to enter San Diego. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum complained that U.S. authorities had failed to notify their Mexican counterparts about the operation.
Yes.
Key pillars of the Trump administration's policy towards Mexico involve large-scale deportations and crackdown on cartels, but reports in the Mexican media suggest the U.S. authorities recently orchestrated the secret cross-border move of at least 17 relatives of Mexico's most notorious drug kingpin, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, co-founder of the Sinaloa cartel, to California on Wednesday. Mexican President Sheinbaum, clearly frustrated, said U.S. authorities had... I'd be pissed if I were her too. Had failed to notify their Mexican counterparts of what appeared to be a highly choreographed operation by Washington to transport the drug lord's extended family across the border from Tijuana to San Diego. We are doing our work to fight drug trafficking, Sheinbaum said. The issue is what information is out there and how do they explain this? They have to give information. Various social media sites have circulated images purporting to show El Chapo's kin lugging rolling suitcases they waited to enter the United States last week at the San Ysidro border crossing connecting Tijuana and San Diego. In a radio interview Tuesday, Omar Garcia Harfuch, Mexico's security chief, confirmed that the move took place. Imagine this call from like Trump to Homan, like, listen, we're going to let him in. He was probably
pissed. That's why he's always fucking stressing.
Yeah, he's
like, I just said the border is 96% secure.
Sir, we can't let El Chapo in. No, it's not El Chapo.
It's his family. There's kids, there's women and children.
There has to be... That's what I mean. That has to be a part of like a...
it's a plea deal thing.
Of course.
Yes. So then you have... So, wait, hold on. Why did we get to this? because, wait, what was the whole point of me?
Video?
No, wait, stop. There was a reason why I was explaining every single thing that's happened. So yeah, basically, because it was that, and then this happened, and now I forgot my point.
You started with the Hydra a while ago.
Yeah, because
you were basically saying how like essentially CJNG has like.
Because we were talking about CIA stuff.
That's
Thank
why
you.
you're
Yeah,
here.
but then
Great
you
job,
were also
Carolina.
saying, you were also saying how like the chapitos are like not doing.
Yeah. So we talk about this whole like CIA thing, right? About how you said, oh, you have to crack a few eggs to have
Make an
shells
omelet.
or what? Yeah.
What'd you say? Leave the shells? That's tough.
Sorry, I'm not good with like idioms like that.
Okay.
So I usually just make them up. So anyways, yeah, you talk about that whole like CIA thing. This could be like a great example of that because now you basically have one cartel controlling all of Mexico, and you can use that to your advantage. A cartel controlling all of Mexico that is one of the most violent cartels in history, I would say, next to like the Zetas, and then a kingpin, El Mencho, who is completely under the radar.
Yeah, Johnny was talking about him the other day. Like, that guy's... Oof.
And people are like, dead or alive, dead or alive. Obviously alive.
Yes.
Definitely sick.
Do you think he's another one? This is total speculation. I'm not asking you on, like, a reporting basis and having actual information. But do you think it's possible that's another one who could be propped up like an El Mayo was propped up? Meaning, like, he's allowed to exist by intelligence organizations?
Honestly, I don't want to get into like the conspiracy of it because I don't like that. That's not how I do my reporting. But just based on the nature of how all of this is happening, if that were the case, it would not surprise me.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be like, holy
for.
shit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying whether I think that is or not the case. It's just a matter of they have gained so much fucking power and control, and the way that CJNG is operating is so next level compared to even like previous and current cartels. It wouldn't surprise me.
I think what we've also learned, though, looking at the past 7-8 years, I guess starting with El Chapo and now seeing El Mayo, the whole like kingpin strategy
Does not work.
at all.
Zero.
It creates a vacuum. Even if that cartel that you take the kingpin
It creates
out,
a hydra.
Right. If that cartel, like let's say in this case Sinaloa, gets hurt and loses a lot of influence because you took out your kingpin, one of the other cartels comes in and just takes up all the power.
Dude,
it's the same shit.
Yeah, even if we do like kingpin strategy where it's like, okay, let's turn them all against each other and have them knock themselves out, they're not going to cease to fucking exist.
Right.
And we know that when you fragment the cartels, they all start to become part of the existing powerful cartel, which makes that cartel even more powerful because now they have more national control across the republic and internationally.
So how do you take them out?
Okay, I have two ways how to take them out.
You chart this out at night. I can see you like every night. Like I got this.
I do like I manifest.
Put me in charge.
Yeah. Make me the border czar. Yeah. So basically, well, okay, I obviously pretext here. I'm not an expert, and I obviously don't know if this would work or whatever. But I think that the main ways to literally end the cartels or at least weaken them would be to target mainly and first and foremost their financial pipelines. Like you really have to crack down on the asset seizures, the like freezing bank accounts, everything, making sure that there is no way for them to launder money, making sure, they can't even use remittance apps, they can't use cryptocurrency.
Remittance.
Like money transfers.
Right.
Yeah. To actually move this money around and launder it. Neither of those things can happen. Second, you need to completely destabilize their team efforts, recruitment. You need to stop the propaganda. Because
they're using like TikTok and shit, right?
We could pull some up right now. Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, we don't want to we'll get demonetized.
No, yeah,
but
and I'll... So... we laugh and we cry later.
Yeah.
So the propaganda is a huge one because they've infiltrated every single aspect of Mexican and international culture. I mean, you have the narco-corridos, the corridos tumbados trending on Apple charts in Mexico, but also in the US. So if you have this kind of music that's basically being like, yeah, El Mencho's my number one dog and 4 letters until the day I die and let's fucking go and get the scar and and you got a good beat behind it. I mean, I'm going to listen to it while I do my makeup, but I'm not going to go and be like, oh, this sounds great. Let me go join the fucking cartel. But you do have a lot of young and impressionable and vulnerable people who are listening to that and thinking, I want this lifestyle. So then what are you doing? You're promoting this sense of, we have a community and you want to be a part of it, then you can feel validated and you can be a tough guy too and be strapped up and be cool as fuck and make a ton of money just like us. If you end that propaganda, you end that sense of validation in the organized crime world, people won't want to be recruited. Like if they don't have that propaganda. I mean, some will, but it takes away a huge part of it. And if you don't have money and if you don't have people, what the fuck do you have? Fentanyl precursors, great. Do what?
Right. But right now, it's effective because the economic opportunity, and they see the people who carry the gun, who have power, and they got the money, and they're like, first you get the money, then you get the power.
Then you get the bitches.
And it's like,
women. What is then
you get the women.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Then
like,
you get Michelle Pfeiffer in a green dress coming down the elevator.
See, you already know. Like, that's when you're a 15, 16-year-old impressionable kid, and when you've grown up in areas where this is the norm.
Yeah, and everyone around you is doing it. And you don't even have the resources to do anything else.
Right.
Then what are you going to do? That.
It's like you have to... and I hear you. Of course, take out the financial pipelines. We got to talk about some of the other ways they're creatively making money right now, by the way.
Oh, yeah. We'll get into that.
The crude oil, all that shit. That
Love
shit's
the crude
crazy.
oil.
But, like, yes, break that all down. Yes, try to take out a bunch of big guys and not allow a vacuum to come in. Good luck with that, though. You are still going to have the problem, though, of kids who have only known this environment, and that's still their only opportunity. So even if things get tougher, they're going to be like, well, it's better than the alternative.
Yeah, but I think we talked about this last time, is that it's nowadays not just like in like the 90s and early 2000s where it was mostly like low-income kids who were growing up around this and wanted to be a part of something and needed money that were getting into it. Now you are seeing kids coming from wealthy families with resources that want to be a part of it to be cool. And we did actually talk about that last time. Yeah. You have the, are they called the chicken narcos?
Chicken narcos?
Chicken narcos. I think that's what they call, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
How do you spell that?
C-H-I-K-I or Q?
Oh, chicken narco. Okay.
Chicken narcos. Right. I'm pretty sure that's what they call like the kids who come from money and want to join the cartels. I could be wrong.
Yeah, but see, either way, it's so strange.
I mean, it's just like fresas.
Yeah.
It's just like what?
Fresas, like
the rich kids of Mexico.
Yeah, like
that's what they call
like
them,
the
fresas?
preppy.
But I'm talking particularly about the people who come from, like, they don't need to do this, but they want to be a part of it because it's cool, and we see that happen a lot in Culiacan and Sinaloa, where you know you want to be tough, you want to be a part of this group. I mean, that's like how it is with any sort of gang, anywhere around the world, but. You were saying something that led me to
No. I all I was saying is on the recruitment, like, it's gonna take 1 or 2 full generations
for sure
to get rid, like, and of perfection of cracking down. Think of all the political turnover in our country, Mexico, and all these other places.
Well, this is like in an ideal world too.
In an ideal, exactly.
And also, like, attacking all of the financial pipelines it's like virtually impossible, because also they adapt as authorities move. So they would just find new and better, more improved ways that the government has no idea, or maybe they have an idea but they don't know how to tackle.
What are all the ways the cartels are making money right now? Obviously, drugs, duh. Human smuggling, duh. They're doing the crude oil thing.
Yes.
Before we get to that, are there a bunch of... They're also
agriculture, like pimping. How do you call that? Like when you're...
Prostitution.
Yeah, prostitution. Yeah. So...
Gambling. They do that too?
The casinos. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then automobile parts and like the car industry, because that's also huge in Mexico.
Loan sharking probably too.
Yeah, that too. I mean, the list could go on.
Right. It's a long list.
It's a long list. They basically have their hands in anything that makes money.
They also have legitimate businesses too that they invest in because, why not?
Of course, I would do that too.
Yeah, Mexican cartels. Oh yeah, we talked about this last time. The avocado
Super
boom.
Bowl.
Every time I look at an avocado now, I'm like,
Every time you eat an avocado, you tell me.
I know.
He's like, just got an avocado, thinking of you in the cartels.
That's happened a couple times. Yeah, crude oil smuggling has emerged as a significant revenue source for cartels like CJNG, Sinaloa, and Gulf Cartel, who have been implicated in stealing. I want to talk about Gulf Cartel later too. Remember that. Who've been implicated in stealing oil from Petróleos Mexicanos, Pemex. This stolen oil crosses the U.S. Southwest border, finding its way into the hands of small U.S.-based oil companies. So Johnny was telling me about this for the first time. And, like, they literally, like, there was one, they arrested, like, a Mormon family for doing 2,800 trips of oil, of stolen oil for, like, $300 million or something.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Mormon, what else?
Like, what the fuck?
Got nothing better to do.
This is huge. They're making, I mean, it looks like they're making billions of dollars from this.
Yeah, it's like more than $3 billion a year.
Oh, my God.
They're, like, after human smuggling and drug trafficking, it's their highest stream of revenue, and they're literally.
How new is this?
It's not new at all.
Yeah,
it's been a thing. Yeah, it's certainly been a thing, and we've seen a lot of tragedies happen across Mexico where the same pipeline that's been tapped into illegally too many times explodes and just devastates an entire town, and people are suffering from lifelong burns or they're like fatal. And a lot, we've known National Guard, local police are paid off so that they can run these operations. And they're basically, well, actually, 3 alleged members of CJNG were just sanctioned by the U.S. for running a major crude oil fraud, I guess you would call it, where they were.
Look that up. Yeah.
Yeah, it just happened. And they were basically stealing the oil, putting it into these tankers, driving it into the U.S., labeled as waste oil, and smaller American oil refineries.
Like, let it through. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, well, let's take the waste. Smaller American refineries were buying it from them because it's a cheaper price.
Okay.
But these guys didn't face any implications.
Father, son indicted on charges smuggling crude oil, supporting Mexican cartel. Let's go down. Yeah, I think these are the Mormons.
Oh, these are the Mormons?
Yeah, 2 Utah men with ties to South Texas company face federal charges for allegedly supporting the CJNG cartel, a designated terrorist group. All right, go down, Joe.
And maybe there's maybe another case of
this.
Maxwell
Maxwell Yep. James Lyle Jensen and Maxwell Sturt. These are the Mormons.
Okay, because the one that I'm talking about, it's 3 Mexican nationals. There's another one. Pull it up. It's amazing. 11 National Guard members were caught in the act stealing the crude oil. Yeah. This one's a good one. And then they tried to say that they were actually trying to protect the pipeline.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was
4 days ago.
That's right. 11 members of Mexico's National Guard charged in connection with fuel theft ring. Let's go down. All right, they were formally charged in a fuel theft case a week after they were caught extracting fuel from an illegal tap using official patrol vehicles. Guanajuato. All right. Guanajuato Interior Secretary Jorge Jimenez Luna confirmed the charges during an interview with Telediario Nocturno. He said a federal judge charged the soldiers with hydrocarbon theft, a crime commonly known in Mexico as huachacol.
Yeah.
Today, we were informed they were formally charged. They are in federal prison. If someone acts improperly and belongs to a corporation, the full weight of the law should be applied according to Proceso. A judge also ordered preventative detention for the 11 National Guard members. They were transferred to Federal Social Readaptation Center number 12 in Ocampo, Guanajuato. Jimenez Luna emphasized that illicit acts committed by authorities or federal armed forces will not be tolerated. Good for them.
So, well, they get paid like nothing. So the problem though with the huachicol, the oil theft,
right,
is that it's obviously not an illicit substance. It's not like fentanyl.
Right.
But it still does lead to, well, it's organized crime, so it will lead to tragedy and death. And this is a major problem in Mexico where they will improperly tap into the pipeline, or they will tap into the same pipeline too many times and it explodes, and then people do die.
Yeah.
And innocent people have nothing to do with it. because like a whole pipeline, it explodes, it runs through a whole area. You know, it's not just an explosion in that condensed area. So this is very problematic, and truth be told, there's really no crackdown on this at all, even though it's one of their most profitable operations.
Crackdown on that side of the border, or like
both?
On both.
I would say
the
both.
United States is not.
Well,
you don't
because
think has made an effort here.
Well, because tell me this, Julian. We look at that example of the Mormons, and then there's that other one that I mentioned of the 3 CJNG guys, the Mexican nationals. But where in that article do they mention anywhere about the American refineries that were buying that oil from them?
Nowhere.
Exactly. There's no crackdown on either side.
Well, that's also like the big thing here, because we always go at the cartels for funneling this stuff across the border, as we should. But it's also like we're buying it.
Yeah.
Right? Regardless of what it is. Obviously, we're talking about something that's legal right here that is being bought illegally.
But the
I'm saying,
insatiable
like,
appetite for drugs.
everything.
I know.
Yeah.
And people talk about this all the time, and I get a lot of these comments where it's like, well, all we have to do is Americans need to stop taking drugs, and then it will cease to exist. But that's just like so, like, okay, sure, yeah, like logically, like black and white. But that's not gonna fucking happen.
Right.
So let's use our brains here, people, because we know that everyone's still gonna want to do drugs, and if the demand always exists, then so will the supply.
Right.
Even if the demand goes away, the cartels will continue to exist and do organized crime because there will still
something.
Yes, because let's say no one on this planet is addicted to drugs anymore. Wow, amazing. Well, everyone still needs crude oil and avocados.
Yep.
Then what?
But they also, it's not like the fear we've had with fentanyl, for example, is like, oh, is fentanyl in cocaine? Is it in weed? Like, is it in all these things? And there's a legitimate fear there. That's happened.
Totally.
But the cartels, not giving them credit here, they've tried over the years to not put fentanyl in some of their other substances because they don't want those substances to kill their customers in the United States.
Yes.
Yet they're still trafficking regular ass fentanyl all over the country, which is almost like, I think about that, I'm like, so are they separating out, like the Kensingtons of the world and being like, well, they're already on it anyway, so we're going to funnel it in and risk getting a lot of other people on it and dying, because that does kill a lot of customers, right? Versus like everyone else that they're like, well, they're not going to do it, so we'll keep it out of their normal drugs.
That's one thing I don't understand either. And also, when I was initially reporting on the cartel connection in Canada, I went to this area in Vancouver called East Hastings Street, which is basically like our Skid Row.
Right.
And I was speaking to people there, and so many people told me, I wish that I could get access to heroin again so I wasn't using fentanyl and I could just go back to heroin.
Because it's that much worse.
It's that much worse. There are people who have been...
Yep.
in that area and using drugs and, in the throes of addiction for basically their whole lives. And they were functioning.
Yes.
And,
crazy as that is to think, but yeah.
And their physical appearance was a certain way, but then they started using fentanyl, and you have that fentanyl lean, and your appearance and your mental state and health deteriorates very fast. So, but now people are getting more used to fentanyl. So I don't really know, like, what the whole point is there with them trying to take it out of, like, not lacing other drugs with it. I don't know.
I was pulling this up before we brought this up as well. I was pulling this up before I got this as well, but this is from, I was trying to find the fentanyl decrease and what they're doing. So, decreased fentanyl seizures. Recent data from U.S. Customs and Border Protection indicates a notable decrease in fentanyl seizures at the Mexican border, with a nearly 30% drop in the first half of fiscal year 2025 compared to the same period in 2024. There are reports of record reductions in fentanyl-related overdose deaths in some U.S. states like Virginia, with a 44% decline year over year. Potential factors: law enforcement pressure, Sinaloa cartel shift. It says the Sinaloa cartel, a major fentanyl producer, signaled a potential move away from fentanyl trafficking in late 2023. I guess they put out a press release, possibly due to increased pressure. China's role. China, a key source of fentanyl precursor chemicals, has also reportedly increased efforts to suppress their flow.
Like
I thought
China,
they were
China's
doing,
stopping their flow of
Yeah, I thought
precursors.
they were doing like a reverse opium war.
Oh, well, also, okay, they are. But we also have to mention the fact that the Sinaloa cartel, the New York Times just put out an investigation a few months ago that apparently the Sinaloa cartel is now recruiting chemistry students from the universities over there so that they can learn how to make the precursors from scratch in Mexico.
In Mexico. So they're trying to break ties.
Yeah. They're trying to cut ties. They want to cut out the middleman and do it on their own.
Right.
But I don't think they're going to do it like with leaving them cut ties with a bad taste in their mouth. It's just a matter of honing in on the whole operation.
Part of that, I think, is also and I'm speculating here. I mean, they did say law enforcement pressure, but this is probably also a political move on their part in the sense that they're like, oh shit, all right, Trump just came in, let's ease it with this, give him less to work with on, us bringing so much fucking fentanyl in and everything.
Yeah, that could be the case for sure.
All right, what is it? What'd you pull up here, Joe?
Mexican cartels lure chemistry students to make fentanyl.
Wow. Okay, this is from New York Times. Can we scroll down? The cartel recruiter slipped onto campus disguised as a janitor and zeroed in on his target, a sophomore chemistry student. The recruiter explained that the cartel was staffing up for a project, that he'd heard good things about the young man. It's like the beginning of a movie where it's like, I'm putting a team together.
This article actually got a lot of flack.
Wait, why'd it get flack?
Because people were saying that it wasn't true.
Well, it's in the New York Times. It must be true.
And this reporter actually, Natalie, she was doxxed by the previous Mexican president.
Natalie Kitroff?
Yeah.
What do you mean doxxed?
He literally, in his morning press conference, said her full phone number in front of the whole Mexican population.
Oh, shit. I thought you were just saying he doxed her name, meaning she had been reporting
no.
privately, meaning
he said, and she lives, like, basically in this neighborhood of Mexico City, and this is her phone number.
Oh, okay.
Horrible. So I mean, it must be true.
Let me just see this. In their quest to build fentanyl empires, Mexican criminal groups are turning to an unusual talent pool, not hitmen or corrupt police officers, but chemistry students studying at Mexican universities. People who make fentanyl in cartel labs, who are called cooks, we've all seen Breaking Bad, told the New York Times that they needed workers with advanced knowledge of chemistry to help make the drug stronger and get more people hooked, as one cook put it. The cartels also have a more ambitious goal: to synthesize the chemical compounds known as precursors that are essential to making fentanyl, freeing them from having to import those raw materials from China. There you go.
Yeah.
Good reporting.
So this also would change the game, right? Because if they are honing in on fentanyl production, they're making the precursors in Mexico and perhaps even start making the precursors in Canada, you just have so much more of a freer flow of the drug.
You've done a lot of reporting in the past on certain politicians or political organizations that are clearly in cartel pockets.
Mm-hmm.
For a system like that to work, though, they're putting fucking guys in janitor suits to go get chemistry students at public universities. Some of these people got to be helping facilitate that. No?
Well, so I reported on how the U.S., a Homeland guy told me about how the U.S. has a watch list where they're basically monitoring certain Mexican politicians who may appear to have narco ties.
Narco ties.
Yeah. Ties to certain, organized crime. So I was like, okay, I think I believe this guy. And I got some names. I put out the story. Exactly a month later, the first person on that list, the governor of Baja California, Marina del Pilar, had her U.S. tourist visa revoked, and so did her husband. And now her husband stepped down from his role, and I don't know if she has or hasn't yet, but this was a whole thing. And the governor of Sinaloa, where this is happening, Governor Ruben Rochamoya,
right,
has long been said to have major cartel ties.
Didn't you interview him once?
I did, in a scrum.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that's not probably going to happen again, to be honest. And so I always put it like this, is that the way that he manages that state, it would probably hurt people less in the long term if he were to just walk around Sinaloa and bitch slap everyone in their face. Because it's so openly, blatantly corrupt. He doesn't seem to care. And I truly believe that he's profiting off of it in some way. Because how are you telling me that you've had this cartel operating for so long, and then it took like there's a big capo getting captured, and then you fly another guy over into the US, and there's like so much lore behind this, and the governor's just la da di da da.
Yep.
Come on.
Nothing to see.
And then the previous governor of Jalisco is also on that list, because under his administration, or under his, like, when he was the governor, was when the searching mothers, because there's a lot of groups of mothers that search for missing people across Mexico because they have like an epidemic of missing people.
Yeah.
Found that ranch, the Extermination ranch in Jalisco, 58 kilometers outside of Guadalajara, the capital city.
The Extermination ranch.
Did you see it? Rancho Izaguirre. So basically it was this ranch that they discovered that served as an extermination camp, allegedly. Yeah, this is it.
Organs and bone fragments. BBC visits Mexican cartel extermination site. Wow.
And so it was said that following a tip-off about the possible location of a mass grave, an activist group of relatives of some of Mexico's thousands of disappeared people went to the ranch. What they found was far worse. 200 pairs of shoes, hundreds of items of clothing, scores of suitcases and rucksacks discarded after the owners themselves were apparently disappeared of. They also found these underground... Oh, yeah, okay, so human and bone fragments were found. But I want to see the part they found underground...
there were children's toys
ovens
in there. That's sick.
There was a duffel bag in there that had... Dude, it was like one of the things I had as a kid with all the Disney princesses on it. Yeah. Oh, look, those are the shoes. It looks like fucking Auschwitz. People were calling it Mexico's Holocaust.
It is.
Yeah.
It
Mexican Auschwitz.
Real quick, I gotta go to the bathroom.
So do I. I was gonna say
we'll
that.
We'll be right back. All right, we're back. This is sick.
Horrible.
It's like, and no one, but it doesn't get talked about. You know, like sometimes we pick and choose like what tragedies we talk about around the world. They should talk about all of them.
It definitely made headlines, but it certainly wasn't to the extent that it should have been, considering how many atrocities were committed there.
Right.
And then also it didn't help that a lot of politicians were saying that, no, it wasn't an extermination camp. It was a training camp for recruits.
Politicians were saying that?
Yeah, actually, let's pull up what Claudia Sheinbaum said about that, because I don't remember exactly what she said about it.
Do you think they're... I'm not excusing it at all, because that's fucking horrible. Are they just, like, so embarrassed this happened on their watch that they're like, oh, no, it's not what it looks like? That's why they're trying to, like, run and duck on this?
I think that's part of it, and I think another part of it is also that people who are on CJNG payroll or are afraid of CJNG don't want to say, yeah, they did it, because it makes them look really bad.
I mean, sometimes they do. This might be a dumb question, but have the cartels made any effort to respond on this?
Oh, fuck yeah. We could probably pull up that video. They have a fully edited video.
All right, let's see if we can find that, Joe.
They
Cartel, is it the
CJNG?
Yeah.
Basically, I say this too. Aside from they run like a Fortune 500, they also have great PR. So
great PR.
They do. They stay on top of their PR game.
They got the best spin teams in New York City.
They write full on press releases. We'll have a team in front of a camera, set up DSLR, hit play. They're reading their script or just saying it. And CJNG said, this was not us. And you should not be pointing fingers at us. And me saying, like, I definitely think it was CJNG is obviously, like, not great, because this makes them look really bad, and that's something they'd be like, oh, KATARINA, you want to...
But people are saying this.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's in their territory. And it's pretty obvious. And certainly if a organized crime group is telling you, hey, no, we didn't do it, I mean, what are you just going
to see here.
You're just going to blindly believe them?
All right, so maybe this is going to be the video right here.
No, it won't be here. It's going to have to only be on Twitter.
Oh, okay. All right, so what would you search on Twitter?
I reposted it a while ago. When did that happen? February? When was that?
Maybe. We'll try to find it. But so they're doing professional videos.
And the Cartel del Noreste even has like their CDN logo, and it'll be like dun 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 CDN, and then
come on,
deadass. And they will say their piece and then close it out and dun 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 dun. Yeah.
The cartels feel like a Batman villain. You know, like when you watch
Joker?
not even just the Joker. I'm saying like just in general, where like these crazy, larger than life, literally like not real in some ways, like features or characters have their own government in Gotham, and that's what these guys are.
This is their video.
This is their Oh, and they're all masked up too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't look suspicious at all. Yeah,
They
look
definitely-
look at us in all our fucking, special
Glory.
forces gear. All right, let's play it right here. Let's get some audio on this. Bang, bang. Boom. Got it?
Bang, bang.
La razón del video es esclarecer los hechos basados en la realidad, en tiempo y forma. El 18 de
You wanna
septiembre de
translate?
2024,
Live?
aseguran el rancho Izaguirre
Go ahead.
como resultado de una persecución donde se dan 2 privaciones ilegales de la libertad. Resguardan y analizan el predio.
You can do it live, like while he's talking.
right now?
Yeah, yeah.
con pruebas del caso
I turned
del
it
campo
down.
de
Okay,
Sergio.
so hold on.
Y
I'm
dejan la investigación
translating. I suck
dando
at.
todo por terminado.
Start it from the beginning.
El 8 de
Start it from.
Or you can get.
Yeah, I would.
Something, I'll pause.
Yeah, because he
Recap.
did, but huh?
You can do a great recap too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. The gist of this video, he basically says, one thing about me, and it's funny because
What are you good for, Kat? Can't even translate.
when
No,
to talk
honestly,
Julian.
like
Oh no, I get to do it.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's
Shoes on
funny.
the other foot.
it's not easy.
No,
Even for me.
I
It's
can't.
honestly, when I see the videos of like the people live, like translating whatever language
It's
it is,
crazy.
I don't know how the fuck like your brain can turn off that.
And people know, like, my Spanish is strong. So, but translating like that, I can't do it. And because there's so much colloquial words that I don't know how to put into English, but I know
Right.
what they mean. So anyways, basically this guy says in this video that, I remember him saying, actually, he's like, I'm a father. I would never be a part of a group that would do something like this. And he's like, we have nothing to do with this ranch, and they're trying to point fingers at us. And the real enemies here are the activist group of searching mothers that go and are sticking their nose where it doesn't belong.
Fuck you.
And then the fucking Mexican federal government also villainized them.
Forget the government for a second. Going after the moms who are searching for their kids is disgusting.
Yeah, but okay,
That's
from the
disqualifying
cartel,
right
yeah.
there.
But
Yeah,
how
it's
can you say
disqualifying
forget
right
about
there.
the government because the government is saying the same thing?
No, I know.
That's
I know.
crazy.
I know. I'm saying like even just remove that for a second. That's sick to go after the
Horrible
moms.
to go after the moms. And then you have the government being like, basically, yeah, you know what, cartels are right. These moms, they gotta stay in their lane. Are you fucking joking?
It's a joke. Yeah.
And
It's
most like
disgusting.
it's most of these women. So the crazy thing about this is that, and this is why I brought this up, was because of the previous governor of Jalisco who was in charge when this ranch was found. Or no, he was in charge when in the fall, the Mexican National Guard and the Fiscalia went to this ranch and saved like 2 kidnapping victims and arrested like a few cartel members, and there was like a shootout. Got those people, left. This shit, wide open. No headlines, nothing. Then a few months later, the moms get a tip that this exists. They go there and they're the ones who break the story. There's an extermination camp,
Finding their own kids'
and
remains.
the state government was just here and released nothing about it and investigated nothing. So you're telling me there's a possible fucking Mexican Auschwitz and Mexican authorities were there and they never said anything about it or launched an investigation into it? Talk about corruption and impunity. And then you're going to tell me that that same body is there to serve and protect the people and write policy that allows people to have a quality of life and ensure that they don't have to join the cartels, because don't worry, the government is here to protect you and provide you with a quality of life. Come on.
When a guy like that, it just makes me think, a guy like that, you said he was saying in the video, like, I'm a father. I would never.
Be a part of an organization that would do something like this.
First of all, laughable that he says that. Secondly, though, this is what's crazy about people like this. And this doesn't just apply to cartels. This applies to even evil people that do other things all over the world. It's like when I was talking with that guy, Matt Hedger, who was undercover with the cartels, he talks about it too. He's like, I had to be friends with these guys, which means he'd be with a stone cold killer, a dude like this, and he'd go over his house for dinner with his wife and kids, and he'd be like a good dad.
It's like, what's that? Who was that guy? That Polish guy, the Iceman?
Yeah, Richard Kulinski.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could turn it. It's like they have a sociopathic switch. And it's really never off, to be clear. It's always there. But they have a almost like a radio cover for it that they can do in their real life. And maybe, and not to like give them credit as a person, but maybe like they probably really do love their kids.
They don't hit their kids.
Right, because their kids aren't the ones who are getting killed.
Yeah.
Their kids aren't, they're protected.
And, I think we talked about this last time, kind of like the morality of this, which I think is really interesting because, hot take, but I don't really think the majority of these guys are inherently bad people. I just think that the conditions of what led them to this position turned them into like really evil, cold stone killers, like you said.
Which means they become that. And it's like, I talk about this all the time with terrorism, and it's similar here.
Well, yeah, they are terrorists now.
Right, exactly. Like, I am never going to empathize with what someone becomes or the evil they do. Right? Someone goes and blows up a building, fuck you. You're going straight to hell. Mm-hmm. What I try to learn, like as a human being, is to empathize with where they came from.
Yes.
So that if we can learn from that and reduce the next generation, like start low goal, reduce the next generation there by 2%. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like reduce 2 out of 100 of those people who become that by improving the environment a little bit. At least it's
something.
Something.
And that's why I say it starts with the propaganda and the glamorization of it.
Yes.
Because that's the only way to do it. Because then perhaps maybe that guy would have just been a father.
Now, why are, like, I know it makes news stories, and I know you've been reporting on it too. You talked about it a little bit ago, but like, the whole recruiting thing openly, forget Telegram and some of the more underground apps like that.
But the music and the TikTok?
But like TikTok and stuff.
So
how is that not being cracked down on?
The Mexican government they've actually shut down a couple hundred TikTok accounts that are openly recruiting for the cartel.
That's something.
Also, that genre of music, the corridos tumbados, narco corridos, are banned in a lot of regions in Mexico, and some longer than others. Lots of establishments won't play them. Lots of bands won't. But actually, a Mexican musical group just had all of their U.S. visas revoked because they played a concert where they showed El Mencho in the back and like basically played homage to him. And then they were like, I don't know if it was the U.S. or Mexico that said to them, "You guys can't do this again," and like this was so bad. And then they went and they just did it again. And then U.S. revoked all of their visas.
Good. I mean, like, to be that blatant about it, too. Like, are you dumb?
And then there's the argument a lot of people say that...
There it is.
Yeah.
Mexican ban has... You're on a roll today.
Thanks.
Mexican ban has U.S. visas revoked for glorifying drug kingpin. April 2025. U.S. State Department has revoked visas held by members of Mexican band for glorifying drug kingpin. Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau said the band Los Alegres del Barranco had projected an image of El Mencho onto a screen at a recent concert in Mexico. El Mencho, who is Nemencio Oseguero Ramos, is the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, one of the most feared transnational drug trafficking gangs.
And so then you'll have people argue and say, like, when I did my dispatch episode about cartel propaganda, okay, music police. And I was like, look, I'm not saying that you have to stop the good music. Also, like, I give examples. It's like when the FBI tried to crack down on NWA or 2 Live Crew, right? But the difference was that they were pushing for, like, violence, like, stop violence against women or violence against cops. And President Claudia Sheinbaum actually
violence by cops against...
No, because NWA was inciting people to be violent again. Fuck the police coming straight from the
other...
No,
that's exactly what I'm saying. I think you accidentally said the opposite,
Oh, sorry.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you're not misheard.
Yeah, thank you. So that was one thing, but this is blatant propaganda.
Yes.
Is the difference. So yeah, you're inciting violence, but you're also inciting people to be part of something that is so much bigger than just... fuck the cops or slap a bitch and hit a hoe, whatever, you know? Right. So the Mexican federal government has started this initiative called Mexico Sings, where it's like, we want everyone to showcase their musical talents that have nothing to do with narco stuff because we don't want to incite violence. But I feel like they're missing the whole point. It's not about just violence. It's about the glamorization, which is blatant propaganda leading to allure people
Yes.
into joining cartels.
Yes. All right, I want to go back to Sinaloa and the state of that, and because we got off that in Post El Mayo, and then I want to bring in Carolina and talk about like the
She knows what's
perspective
up.
of your family on the ground and everything. But after El Mayo gets taken down, whatever the fuck that was, last July, 2024, creates this power vacuum, as you've already laid out. New Generation Cartel has seized a lot of this to be able to take more power. Sinaloa is hurting. But the overall effect is cartels didn't lose any power. It just shifted around.
It shifted.
What is the state of Sinaloa, though, like right now?
You know what's crazy is when I was here with you last time, I was like, it's so fucked up and there's so much blatant daily broad daylight violence, and it only got worse. Yes, it has continued on, and it's so much worse to the point where houses are getting shot up, burned down. There's videos of kids. Right, school is out, and they're running for cover because there's a shootout right outside of the school. And so Carolina's family, like most of your family, lives there, other than her parents and her brother who are with her.
Right.
But what does your family say?
They're tired of it. They're like sick and tired of it. Everyone is. Like everyone just wants it to end, but it's like there's no answer, and people are kind of feeling hopeless. And so I think like obviously it's really important to give people a voice, which is why I think what you guys are doing is like really important. But like just to give you a real life example is like when they first extradited, I'm sorry, I'm blinking right now.
When they sent El Mayo to the States?
Yes.
Quintero or El
No.
Mayo?
So I'm talking recently.
Okay.
So sorry, I'm nervous.
You're okay.
No.
When they first like extradited El Mayo, things popped off. And so I like right after that, I remember that my cousin called my mom and she was real stressed out saying that like, so what do you call like ponchallantas?
The strips that break the tires? How do you call those?
Oh,
the spike strips? Spikes.
Yeah.
Spikes. Yeah.
So cartels use those a lot. So like I told you, like they take cars like GTA style.
You were
Like
telling
if
us
they
off
want a
camera,
certain car, like they'll try and take it from you. So you can't really have like a nice car, quote unquote. Like before all this popped off, my cousin bought like a nice like truck, and so she was driving around and literally like they threw it at her. She freaked, and she was able to like not get her tires popped. And so like later on, like they did it again, and she got home and she's like, I'm never using that truck out again. Like in the past, before even this popped off though, like I've definitely had like multiple family members try and get their cars taken away. Actually, like my uncles were still in the car when they took their truck away.
Fuck, so they drove off with them in the car?
They drove off with them, and they're like, please, like, let us go, like, just take the car. And eventually they freaking kicked them out somewhere, like, randomly. And it was like, yeah, it was like terrifying. And this was like years ago. So this has been a thing.
This is long term.
Yeah, it's a thing. But like you said to me, how like you know someone who bought like a beat up shitty car just to drive around.
A lot of people are buying beaters now because they were getting their cars stolen, and they were using the spikes. They still use the spikes, and a lot of the cartel armored vehicles have these special tires. They like have a blue cap around them. I have a video of it that are anti spikes, so they can drive right over the spikes and it doesn't puncture the tire.
I feel like this is an impossible question to ask, but like in Sinaloa, what percentage of the population isn't necessarily just in the cartel, but associated with and supporting the cartel? Do you have any idea? It's okay if you don't.
For the most part, people want it to be gone and people want to live like a normal life.
But they feel powerless.
Yeah. Like it's like a hopelessness, and it's like whenever they like speak to us, like me and my mom, it's like you can sense that they're like, this freaking sucks. Like and like what can you do, you know? Like we check in, it's like, hey, how are things? How are you doing today? And like sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm so scared. Like earlier I saw like a body on the road. We just passed by. And it's like, that's literally not normal, and it's so scary. And like I haven't been to visit my family in a really long time because I like I don't want to be out there. Like things can pop off at any moment, but it's like everyone's so worried. And like when we did the episode together on TikTok and like YouTube, we spoke about this, and I like was saying like these same examples, and it's like people in the comment sections were also like, oh yeah, like this is for sure a thing, like thank you for speaking about this, I haven't seen anything about this, like we want more. And so it's like people are eager to hear, like at least in the States, like the demographic that we hit, with people who have family back there. And it's like, yes, please speak about it, like yes, this is crazy, this is happening, like we're so worried as well, like like let's get this out there.
Did they have any hope, your family or people, friends you talk with back there, do they have any hope that it can actually change? Or is there a cynical, like, this is what it is? It sucks, but it is what it is.
It's like a little bit of both. Like my family's like very like, they have a lot of faith in God. So I feel like in general, like we have a sense of, one day things will be better. We don't know how. Obviously, like hope is hope. You can only hope that one day in the future. You don't know how many years. This can take 10, 20, 30 years. Like we really don't know. For like personally, like I hope things change. I don't have answers. Like no one truly like has an answer as to when. But it's like obviously like no one wants to live like that. And like I have family who lives like deep in the ranches. And it's like,
and the Meadow has political family over there too.
Oh, you have political family.
I do.
Now, okay, and you don't have to answer anything you don't want to answer here, but like, because here, let me turn on the cynical thought here for a minute. Yes, there are clearly dirty politicians who are on the take. I'm just talking in general.
Yeah.
There are also probably people who are given no choice, if you know what I mean. Not even necessarily getting paid. It's like, you want to live?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to drive down that road. You're not going to say shit. I know you're the mayor, but you're not saying anything. That's realistic, right?
Yeah. Well, I can say, like, I was actually a child when my uncle ran for, like, presidente municipal. This is, like, mayor. But it's a big deal in Mexico, like, compared to out here. And I remember he was going to go for, like, another term, which people, like, really loved him. He's, like, humanitarian. And, he tries his best. Like,
what kinds of things would he do in the community?
I was young, but I know that like people just love him. That is what I do know, and he received so much like support. And honestly, like I can't say that I know like if my family will be okay with me like sharing so much about all of that. Like truly, like I don't speak to them in that manner of like, hey, I'm gonna go on this podcast and I'm gonna speak about everything.
You're speaking in generalities though too, which
we're for sure. Going, like I'm trying to get yes. Obviously for safety purposes too, because they live there and I don't.
Right.
But
sad you gotta think that way too. Yeah. But you really do.
And so basically, I know that he tried to run again, and they literally like the opponent was like had affiliations and was like, don't run because for your own good. And they like burnt some of his stuff, like and he had to get security. Like it was crazy. The whole family was like, dude, like don't do it, like it's not worth like your safety. So obviously like in Mexico politicians are like killed all the time or people who run, so it's like it's nothing new.
That's and honestly, like I'm probably guilty of that too, like not pointing that out enough. There's, like I was saying, there's a lot of people who aren't given a choice or they just get killed because
this
whatever
recent
kicked out.
Presidential election in Mexico was the most deadly in Mexican history.
By what metrics? Like the people around the actual election,
the amount of politicians
killed?
that were killed and the people around the elections, and the amount of polling stations that were shot up, burned down.
Shot up.
Yep. Ballot boxes were stolen, destroyed.
That doesn't surprise me. And your family, like your immediate family here, your parents and your brother, it sounds like you guys are like the only one of the bunch of your whole family who's in America right now. Is that right? Or do you have other family members in America too?
For the most part, like my mom's side, she has no one out here. My dad has like uncles and like a little bit more family.
How long have they been here in the country?
My dad came out here actually when he was like 16, 17.
Okay.
He like would ride the bike to like the adult school nearby just to learn like English.
Wow.
And like people even get shocked sometimes when he randomly starts speaking in English.
I was shocked.
Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
were, huh? Yeah, everyone's always very like shocked because his English is like really good, but yeah, like he literally had to come out here because his family lives like deep in the ranch in the middle of nowhere. And like
When
he
you say
would-
the ranch, I'm sorry, are you referring to like where the cartels
Farmland
literally
areas
are?
where there's a lot of cartels because there's no government oversight.
Okay, got it.
and like extreme poverty, especially back in the day when he was like 16, 17, or like just growing up in general. Like he tells me sometimes like he would have to eat like literally just like a tortilla because there was nothing. And so for that reason, it's like he had to literally like come out here and he would be the one to like provide for his, like he has a ton of siblings and he was the one who like made that decision. And obviously it's like he has no one out here.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy to have the perspective of someone like daughter of an immigrant and knowing like how crazy things are out there. Like obviously, you know, like to be specifically from Sinaloa, it's like I'm worried all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. It's like you just
can't
never know
imagine.
what can pop off.
Yeah. Now, there's been a lot of talk about, especially since El Mayo got caught, like, oh, who was really in charge? Was El Chapo just the easy guy to put as the front, because he was like the dude who loved the media and the attention, whatever,
Yeah, he
whereas
was
El
loud.
Mayo was really the grandfatherly, in air quotes there,
Mm-hmm.
guy who ran things. Like, what do you think the reality is there? I ask everyone this.
I think that the power dynamic was pretty split. It was just a matter of the ways that either of them, like you said, ran their faction of the cartel. It was personality differences.
Okay.
Honestly.
I don't know. It's hard for me in America with my American-centric view of organized crime to imagine that. Like, to give you an example, not that it hasn't happened before, it has, but there's usually, if you look at the history of like the Italian-American Mafia, for example, you got the 5 families in New York. Whenever there's like a power-sharing structure in one of the families where there's like 2 bosses, there's a war. Like,
yeah.
it doesn't work, right? But these guys technically had, if it's true what it is, had this power-sharing thing for
A while.
decades.
Yes, it did work, it seems. But
it's hard to believe because of the egos
I
and,
agree. And differences in how they manage the business.
Yep.
And that's why I think CJNG is so successful, because there's one leader.
Yeah.
And he's an ex-police officer. So he runs that shit like it's military style.
And the Zetas, though, were the ones who were trained by U.S. Special Forces, right?
Yeah.
What are they doing right now? Like,
Well,
what's the latest with them?
It's fragmented. It's a fragmented cartel. And so typically, I mean, a lot of people don't agree with me on this, but I think that most of the fragmented cartels now in Mexico are pretty much working with, in some capacity, CJNG. Now, also a big like landmark thing that just recently happened was how they Mexico sort of unofficially, because they didn't follow typical extradition procedures, sent 29 major capos to America to face justice here. And a lot of the big heads there, well, you have Caro Quintero, who allegedly murdered DEA agent Kiki Camarena, yeah. And then you have Zeta 40, big time leader in the Zetas, who was notoriously very violent. And the Zetas kind of had the same effect that the Sinaloa cartel is having now, where they caused so much havoc and violence that it got to a point where people were like, we are done with this, and they were against them. And to the point when these guys were sent to the U.S., a lot of people were like, all right, let's see the death penalty now, which they can potentially face because they weren't sent under typical extradition policy.
Has it been harder for you, since also getting a bit of a bigger profile here, to develop sources, or easier? I mean, it sounds like you've gotten some good ones since the last time you were here. But...
Yeah, I've actually gotten look, The sources have been a lot better now because people know what I'm like and what I'm doing. And so I can reach out to someone or try to get a source, and they're more trusting, or they know my vibe more. And they know that I'm good at keeping people anonymous. And then in another way too, people are reaching out more. There's a lot of shit, but I know how to scroll through it and figure out what is real and what isn't. And people reaching me through other official authorities and stuff like that. So the sources thing has been great. But in terms of like the safety, the exposure has not been good for the safety.
Right.
Yeah, no. It's a lot of attention, more than I anticipated, because, and I say this all the time, like I didn't start doing this to be famous or validated or whatever. It was just literally in the name of journalism and telling these stories. So now that there is more exposure, there's more threat of, well, what I do say is reaching a lot of ears and has a lot of impact, because we're getting a couple 100,000 views on each YouTube video and each podcast. So there are people who really don't like what I have to say that are listening, or people are sending those videos to them. And there's superficial threats of like, you better keep your mouth shut, or what the fuck are you saying? Hey, you're gonna die. But then there are like the real messages where I'm like, this someone is telling me to stop talking about this.
Have you been able to develop news sources actually? I don't know how you would, this is really subjective, but pretty high up in the cartels who are willing to talk with you?
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
Okay. All right, I had another question there, so I'm not going to ask that now.
No way, yeah.
Right. What do you think, just in general, what do you think makes someone want to talk who's actively in a position?
You asked me this last time, and I think it's a lot of it has to do with flexing their muscles, or if they have something to gain. Yeah. A lot of people reach out to me because they feel like they can get something from the American government if I help them get the story out or put them in contact with the right people. And then people want to show, hey, look what I'm doing, and I'm not getting caught, which is a huge part. Ego is a huge part. Or people feeling like there's some sort of injustice within the organization that they're in, whether that's government or crime. And they feel like I can kind of in some way work as the messenger to put out this information. And I'm not putting out the information in their benefit, but if the information benefits the public, or if I feel like it's something the public needs to know and I can verify it, then that goes out. And whether the person who gave me that information benefits or not isn't my priority. It's a matter of whether or not it's a solid story.
Mm. I mean, you're also, and this struck me last time, and like we joke about it in some ways, but it's serious. Like, you're clearly you're passionate about what you do. You're willing to do it. You understand there's dangers to it, and you want to put yourself in that. But also with the bigger profile, it's like you were saying, now there's more threats and things like that. Some of it seems like it could be real. What kind of precautions can you take to protect yourself? Because like we've seen it in the past go bad with journalists down there. Mm-hmm. That's not a new thing, you know?
Well, I'm trying to be careful, and I'm careful about what I say. I won't say something that's going to actively put me in danger that I don't feel like is benefiting the public. Like, I'm not going to report some sort of narco gossip just because I know it's going to get clicks. Yeah. If I were to do that, I'd probably be super famous by now, but also dead. And that's just not worth it, because then who's going to tell the stories if I'm dead?
Yeah.
So precautions, yeah, I try to be safe, but at the end of the day, it's not about me or the safety. It's about the stories and the people who are actually suffering. Yeah, we can be scared for me and cry for me all day, whatever the fuck. But then you have moms who are going and searching for the bones at these extermination camps. I'd rather cry for them, because that's horrible.
And give them a voice,
and
too.
They didn't choose that. I chose this. So
is there, and maybe you can understand this through your family, Carolina, but you know, human life is human life, regardless of where it is. But is there a built-in, I don't want to use the word acceptance, but almost like
Desensitized.
there's another word I'm looking for right now, but let's go with that because that's pretty good. Is there a little bit of a desensitization that's built in, you know, to people you know down there because they understand that the collateral damage, meaning innocents losing their lives, is a part of the way of life that these organizations have created?
Yeah, like totally. In Mexico and out here. Like people who have family from out there, like I don't know if it hurts so bad that they just want to act like everything's fine. But like when things popped off, like recently with the extradition, I was telling people to be like careful. Like people who I knew that were gonna go to Sinaloa for like vacation in Mazatlan or whatever. And I'd be like, just be careful, like, you know, like, and because I feel like I'm more realistic about it. And I know people who are like, it'll be fine. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, we're talking about it and it's like, it's real. And like, I just don't know why sometimes people like, they'll go to Sinaloa and are very like about it.
Now,
You know, she has nightmares about it. It like she was gonna go to Sinaloa with your cousin or your friend, and then she had a dream that the plane crashed.
No. This is another story.
Yeah, but that's like inherently psychologically from this
think
shit.
so?
Because it's associated with death and danger, of course.
Yeah. But like, it's because what I was talking about was like a whole nother dream. That's why I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with it.
Completely different.
Yeah, it's a completely different dream. Like maybe we can like cut that part out because it's like no. But what was your question again?
About the whether it's like an acceptance, like a desensitization to the violence that occurs, that's just how it, you know, and I don't want to oversimplify it, like, but the proverbial shoulder shrug of that's just a part of what it is. I mean, it sounds like you do go back sometimes. Am I hearing that correctly?
To Sinaloa? Yeah, I've gone before.
Do you feel safe when you go there?
Yeah, I mean, I went like when I like maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Like I haven't been back since because I feel like it was safe back then, not really safe, but it was like safer. And like now things are like a lot different. And like you will hear people say like it's never been this bad. So it's like I'm not gonna go back and visit my family if we don't see an end to this. And also like what were you saying that like basically CJNG has like an alliance with the Chapitos?
Yeah.
So it's like in the video even, which is like so scary, they say that like this is just begun, like this is barely starting. And like literally I'm like, what? Like it's already so bad. So
it's been decades.
Yeah,
it's just begun.
It's just begun. And how much possibly worse could this fucking get?
This was one of the things that Johnny Mitchell said. And, like, Johnny goes there all the time. He goes there with Ed Calderon and everything. So, like, you know, he's got way more of a perspective than I could ever have. But he pushes back on the crazy... He's like, yes, there's violence and there's problems in Mexico and the cartels are very bad. But he's like, when people talk about the safety across the whole country and everything... It's not like you can go places and you don't have to worry about it. Like, would you say that the cartels, obviously it's documented, they do horrible shit to their own people and there's a lot of violence, but would you say that most of the places you can go as an outsider,
like vacation spots?
Yeah.
I just did a reel on this that went viral and people were giving me a ton of shit because I said that you book a Cancun resort and the cartel books it too. This is how the cartels run most of the tourist hotspots and the resorts because they use it as money laundering. They're making so much money off of tourists in terms of drugs and sex. So they will likely, if a tourist doesn't cause problems, leave them alone, of course. They're making money off of them. That doesn't mean that they do not have power there. certain, like, Puerto Vallarta is a major CJNG hotspot. And it's
not to say they don't have power. I didn't want to get that
it's
across.
extremely lucrative for them. If the regular American family wants to go and, you know, they want to go to a place where you don't have these daily shootouts and you want to just hang by the beach and be chill, yeah, you're probably going to be fine. Like, very likely. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, yeah, you can go and do whatever you want and turn a blind eye, but it doesn't mean it's not existing around you and entrenched in everything that you're spending your money on there.
Now, with your new show on Ironclad,
Borderland Dispatches.
We'll have the link down below in description. You're just reporting each week on the latest stuff you find, or are you working on building specific stories over time? And
I'm kind of doing both. So it's 2 episodes a week, and typically what I'm trying to do is a sort of analysis, in-depth explainer for one of the episodes a week, because a lot of the viewership is American, and people who are interested to know about this, some who are just learning about this, some who are pretty fluent in it, and it sparks conversation, which I think is really important when we're discussing, you know, such a high level of organized crime. And then for another episode, as much as I can, it's just in terms of my capacity for how much I can do, go and cover a breaking or big time story that I can dive into and show people. So that's what I did at the El Paso Juarez border, at the northern border, and now I'm going to go and do some on the crude oil. Those will probably be out by then. But how they're bringing in the crude oil into Brownsville, Texas. So I kind of want to hit both sides of storytelling here, where you want some deeper understanding, I'm giving that to you, and I'm trying to paint this picture in a simple way, but also let's go boots on the ground, because that's what I love doing, and that's what got me into this. And because, you know, yeah, I have fear, but I have a pretty high threshold for it. Let's go and show you what we're kind of seeing, but no one's really there showing it to you in real time on the ground. So trying to hit both.
Yeah, like I said earlier, there's not many of you guys who, you know, are from here or, you know, speak English, who are down there actually reporting it. We need way more, you know, but
there's so much to cover.
And it's like, there was something else, but I don't want to say that part on camera. Either way, like, we need far more journalists who are willing to do this. That said, the barrier to entry is people are very afraid for their lives. So, you know, you've already laid out that there's fears you naturally have to have
of
doing
course,
what you do.
human
But
being.
like, what would you say to you know, someone out there right now listening who's thinking, who has an ability to go do something like this and is thinking about actually going down there to cover it and is worried about their safety?
If you're afraid to die, you can't do this. And if you're not willing to jump in fully, then don't do it. Like, this is not dip your toe in and test the water. This is all or nothing. And you have to be willing to be thorough, and you have to take the heat and handle it. Yeah. But if there are people who are interested in this and are about honest and raw storytelling and are willing to go in and do it for the story and for the greater good of trying to at least allow people to have their voices heard, fuck yeah. There needs to be more of that. Totally. I wish there was more of that.
I do too. I mean, and I'm not even just saying that because, like, I enjoy talking with you guys. It's like, the more exposure something like that got, the more understanding we have of it in this country, where they're also providing all these illegal services that we've been talking about all day. And it's like, you know, sometimes the best way to fight something is spread massive awareness.
And it's so interesting because in one of the episodes of Dispatches, I said, I think I ended the video and I was like, how do we even fucking tackle this? Like, what do we even do? Because sometimes I get, like, heated, right? Yeah. And then someone commented on that YouTube video saying, you know what, Katarina, this is part of how you do that. You just bring awareness to it. We talk about it, lay all the truths on the table, let people criticize it, analyze it, agree, disagree, and find out more. And that's why, like, especially when I, on Substack, whatever I'm doing, I always tell people, stay critical and stay informed, because knowledge is certainly power, especially when it comes to something like this. And the more you know, the more you fucking know. And you can't appreciate something or tackle it if you don't understand it.
Well said.
Thanks.
Have you, obviously, like, we have a lot of press in the new incoming administration on border crackdown and ICE and all this stuff that we see here. We've talked about Mexico getting some pressure to deploy their own military and stuff on the border. But what's going on with, like, U.S. organizations like DEA operating in Mexico right now? Have you heard, like, what the scope of that is at this time, or what other organizations might be involved as well?
Yeah, so DEA, FBI, CIA, ICE are, what we know publicly, working bilaterally with Mexico, but they're working on the intelligence front. So they're not boots on the ground. They're gathering information, which is why openly those CIA planes are flying in Mexico. Yep. They have a military vessel docked at the port of Veracruz. They have certain they've amped up a program that has existed for years, which is the Green Berets go into Mexico and train some of the Mexican troops. And so, well, as we know, because of the Zeta. You know.
Also accidentally trained the Zetas.
Also accidentally started a whole new cartel. Yeah. Whoops.
We'll ignore that one.
So,
honest mistake.
There are bilateral actions that are happening. Are they going to be effective? It's so hard to say because you never know what the result can be, literally. Mm-hmm. But they're I guess playing their part here. And I don't know if Mexico likes it or not.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, is there trust at all between any of those organizations across border?
To be completely honest, I don't think Mexican government trusts American officials just the same way American government doesn't trust the Mexican government. So, sure, you could be like playing cards with someone, but if you don't trust, or like you're on the same basketball team as someone that you don't fully trust, you're not going to play a good game. You're probably not going to win. You know, there has to be more trust, but it's also really understanding. I'm sure both of us understand why there would be so much distrust between both parties.
Of course. But it's like, it's hard to see how a problem like this can even come close to getting halfway solved if there's not some sort of real cross coordination and some level of trust that is built between the two countries' respective forces working on this.
And it's hard to say whether or not these operations are built on trust or simply just built on this mutual understanding that they have to show to the world's audience that, yeah, we're tackling the cartels and we're doing it together, but we're not actually doing it together.
Yeah.
And nobody trusts each other. So then it's so interesting because if you have these two parties who are trying to tackle the same problem, but they don't trust each other and they don't trust the adversary is likely going to come out stronger. Don't you think?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, but
I just had that thought.
But we've seen that over and over again with this. I mean, these guys were doing weed 40 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, think about all the things they're in now and what they're doing. They were powerful then. You know?
Yeah, alcohol during Prohibition, man. Fuck, let's really take it back.
Yeah. So, you know, the cynic in me says there will not even cynic, common sense in me says there will always be black markets. There will always be organized crime. This is everywhere.
That's just how it works.
That's how it works. But, like, you know, there has to be a whack-a-mole way of making some less moles pop up. You know, like, if you look at the Italian-American Mafia now, look at that background right there. Every building in New York went up with their permission, and they got a taste of it. They're still around. They still have power. Not like that.
No.
Not like that. So there's an example of, like, a way, not to say other things haven't filled the void, but, like...
And this is the level of power that Mexican cartels have right now.
Probably more.
Oh, actually. In Mexico, but also in the US and in Canada. And, I mean, they've expanded internationally. Like, we don't even talk about fucking what they have going on in Australia and Europe and even in some African countries now.
Yeah.
They have globalized themselves to the point where, in order to tackle them... Basically, every single government of each nation that they operate in would have to work, like collaborate to end it. But how do you even end it? Oh my God, I hate ending the podcasts like this.
No, but That's
it's like,
reality.
thanks for listening to our conversation.
We're all fucked.
Yeah. So like all this analysis and all these details only for it to just keep happening. And like Caro said, this is just the beginning. Like, fuck.
Yeah, but do you get cynical about that sometimes? I mean, you live
But I've always
it,
been
you
like
do
that.
it. Yeah.
I was born like that.
So that's the strange thing, though. You're down there taking a risk, doing something to spread awareness on this, to try to help it, right? And very few people are doing it. It's very brave what you're
So
doing.
why do you do it if you feel like there's no end in sight? Because I do it for the people. And I don't particularly always report on that, like the human component of it, and I don't really do it on dispatches. It's literally, at that point, if we're being completely honest, it comes from a business standpoint for me, is like, people don't really care about other people. They want to know about the narco shit. But I will always find a way to incorporate that into my reporting, even if that isn't the headline or the main point of my reporting. I will talk to Caro, I will talk to her family, I will go to Sinaloa, I will go to Tamaulipas, I will go wherever the fuck the wind takes me in order to make sure that those mothers of the missing kids can get the story out there. Like when I was in Culiacan and I spoke to this woman.
I was just going to ask you about that, yeah.
Yeah, and I spoke to the woman, and of all the reports I did, that was my least viewed report. The woman who was searching for her son, who was kidnapped, I think in like 2016, like it's been years since he's gone missing, and she continues to look, and she runs the head activist group in Culiacan of mothers searching for their missing family members and children, and she has him tattooed on her arm, and she literally lives for finding him, to the point where her other children would probably argue that they've been neglected because she has been so focused on finding her son. And I'll go and interview her and tell that story, because to me, that's the most impactful part.
Yes.
Is the regular people who do not fucking deserve this suffering,
That's right.
that are going through it on a daily basis, and their lives and their mental health has gone to absolute shit because of it. Yep. So sure, maybe that's not going to be my headline because no one's going to click on it. But if I can get someone to click on something else and still read that part, just so it can maybe change some sense of perspective, yeah, that's why. But I know it's not going to change, and I'm not here to change the fucking world. Obviously not. I'm not a dumbass.
It's a little disappointing that, I understand this isn't in our country right here, what we're talking about, although we have the whole drug market here, right? And where we're buying, and we have our own crisis from that. But when you talk about the human cost on the ground in Mexico, this is a country that is literally in our backyard. It's I think the largest immigrant demographic in the United States as well.
It is. I think Spanish is the most spoken language in the United States. I think more people speak Spanish than English in the United States. I don't know. We can fact check that.
It might not be that, but we get the point.
Yeah.
It's large.
But I also do understand why people don't care about other people. It's because they...
You understand why?
Like, I can understand why. I don't say that I agree with it, and I don't think like that.
Well, why is it?
Because people are so busy caring about themselves. Why the fuck how they don't have even the bandwidth to care about, this woman lost her son in Mexico and has spent the last decade searching for him, and now has no relationship with her other living children. But I have to put food on the table for my kids, so sucks.
Sucks to suck. Sorry to hear that.
That's literally how it goes. And I think that's also why people are so obsessed in a sensational way with watching this stuff, with watching the true crime, the cartel stuff, organized crime, is because in a way, it's almost an escape for them from their harsh reality, and it takes them to a different harsh reality. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they feel compassion for what they're watching. It's more entertainment escapism. Yeah. Which is fucked.
It's fucked. But it's real.
Yeah, that's the reality of it.
Yeah. Have you... we've been talking about some of the human smuggling, obviously, and like the tunnel in El Paso and all that, but since the Trump administration came in and is trying to crack down on the border, what has been the financial impact, I don't know, on the coyotes and that business that the cartel has? Significant.
If you look at American numbers, illegal border crossings have gone down hugely. Yeah. I think it's actually in history, it's some of the lowest it's ever been.
It was a low bar.
It was a low bar, honestly. And so prices for crossing nearly doubled to pay a coyote to take you across the border.
Right. So technically, basically supply, this isn't a perfect way of saying it, but supply has gone down, but demand has gone up.
I don't even know if demand has gone up simply because there is like no supply of like people who are willing to take you across the border. Because there were so many seizures too of people illegally crossing the border, like they were getting caught. The cartels and the coyotes really toned down operations because they were just, it just got to a point where everyone was just getting caught. So then also demand was going down because people kind of figured, well, we're paying double to try to cross, and the likelihood of us getting caught has gone up. Yeah. So it's like a sunk cost that they can't afford. Because so many people, it's not like a lot of the people who get caught crossing the border, like it's not their first time trying to cross. It's not their first time getting caught. It's not their first time in the United States. So imagine how much money that is, especially for someone who's literally working to pay to cross into the United States. And now you're telling me that, well, the price has gone up significantly, and so has the likelihood of me getting caught. Fuck, I don't know if I should take this risk again, because it is a huge financial risk.
Oh, yeah. Have we seen like some of these corrupt NGOs that have been working like on our side of the border as well, literally sometimes directly with coyotes? Have we seen some of them like disappear, go underground?
Honestly, I have no idea. That's something that I haven't really dug into, just because there's so much more like there's so much shit going on.
Yeah, that's probably a Jorge question, to be honest with you.
That is a Jorge question. That's his border beat.
Have you talked with him recently?
Yeah, all the time.
How's he doing? I haven't talked with him in like the last few months.
He's doing good. He's locked in. He's killing it with the reporting on that border beat. He knows what's up. Yeah. And he gets good scoops.
And he focuses on the smuggling more than anything. So.
Yeah, that's his thing. And he'll lock in because like when he found that story with the 10-year-old girl, I think he was the one like with News Nation that they called the number that she had. And they kept following that story, which I thought was really solid reporting, because I like to see that beginning to end. What's going to happen to that person? Okay, we know that this happened. Now what? And a lot of reporters, are particularly like news outlets with a lot of bureaucracy, won't follow through. And that's shitty reporting. That's weak journalism.
It's also the supply line is crazy how deep it goes. It's not 1 or 2 steps. Or 3 steps. I mean, even with the example of some of the Chinese nationals who were going across the border, that shit was crazy. Did I show you Nick Shirley's thing that he found?
Yes, I know. And
it's like 45 steps.
Okay, you know what's funny that I didn't tell you about last time I was here? That when I was in Culiacan, because it was during the throes of the violence, no one was at my hotel. Like it was me and then the workers and like maybe 3 women who went for like BBLs. And then no, seriously, they were like leaving all bandaged like and like walking crooked.
Stop doing that, ladies. Come on.
I know.
It looks terrible. It looks terrible.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
I know. Okay, anyways, that's not the point. So, it was me and them. And then when I would go outside to smoke, there was always this group of guys, like and they were foreign and they were speaking Turkish. And so I would sit there. I didn't interact. Was he Turkish?
No, we're just laughing.
Why?
That was out of left field. I wasn't expecting a Turkish guy.
Neither did I. So I actually, it's so funny because I called my dad and I'm like, listen to what they're saying because I think it's Turkish. And he's like, yeah, it is. So we just know, like, it's the my dad doesn't speak Turkish. We're not Turkish, but just to confirm, you know.
Your dad's got the ear.
Secondary source. He's got the talent. Yeah. So, anyways, I'm like, I'm not gonna really interact. I'm here to work, blah blah. I was always in and out. One night there's a shoot. Like the city was basically on lockdown. It was a stay in place order, which happens pretty frequently. And so I'm sitting in the lobby because the internet was horrible. I'm working and they're sitting in the lobby and their wives are there, and they go, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, I'm Canadian, but I'm actually working here. And I kind of gave them the spiel. And they go, oh, okay, we didn't know what you were doing. Like, you just look out of place. And I go, well, you guys are ones to talk because who the hell are you and what are you guys doing here? And they gave me this story about, oh, you know, we're just like tourists visiting Mexico.
That's always what they say. Just a tourist.
Yeah, in fucking Culiacan, where you can't even leave the hotel right now, all the way from Turkey. Then I get one-on-one with one of the wives, and she goes, we're trying to get to New Jersey. So funny. I know. We're trying to get to New Jersey.
Where are they?
They actually went back. They got here and they went back. Or she went back.
She went back?
Yeah, we added each other on Instagram because
no shit.
She was having trouble. Well, yeah, I don't actually, that's not my story to tell. But
okay.
Basically,
you can tell me off camera.
Yeah, I will. I actually have a lot to tell you off camera.
Oh. All right.
So anyways, we get to talking and she goes, we're just waiting for the call from the Coyote so that we have to take a flight from Culiacan to wherever, and then we're going to cross, and then we're going to finally get to New Jersey. And we have some cousins there already. And so I thought that was so interesting because everyone, first of all, it's not just, the southern border is not just this open floodgate for Mexican immigrants. It's the world's floodgate.
Exactly.
And a lot of people have that misconception, and it's so blatantly wrong. And so they were from Turkey. They literally flew into Mexico, and they were coming to New Jersey. Now, I forget where I was going with this, but I guess the point has been made.
Yeah. Wild, Wild West down there. Put it that way.
Basically, yeah.
Did I ever connect you? I just thought of this randomly. Did I ever connect you with Luis Navia?
No, you didn't. And you had actually mentioned that, I think.
I should do that. So he was on my show. We did 2 episodes. I think it was 221 and 222. But he was legit. Like, it was a real... The fucking 15 agencies took him down in like 16 countries back in 2000. He was like the chief smuggling expert for the cartels and was moving shit all over the world. He lived in Greece at one point. He said, I work with every cartel except the Asian ones. Outside of that. So he's been, obviously he's been out of that life for 25 years now. But he also back then like worked with the government to identify, where some of the sources were coming from and all that. So he's always like stayed with it with what's going on. But he said right now, I don't know if you've heard any inkling of this out there, but Ecuador is becoming, starting with the political structure at the top, is becoming like a hotbed for cartels. And I still have to talk to him about it more, but like, I think he was also saying, like, there's something the Mexican cartels are doing to funnel through there.
It's so funny because people have been saying this to me, and I haven't had the time to dig into it, but it would not surprise me at all simply because they have such an unstable government right now.
Yeah.
So it makes total sense. And there has always been a sort of Ecuador cartel connection. So.
I got to make that connection for you. You should talk with him.
Yeah.
He's always calling me. He's like, you got to see these fucking things. And I'm in Ecuador right now. Shit's crazy, man.
No way. Yeah. And I want to know so bad. Because you connected me with Tommy. And Tommy goes, can you please go to Sinaloa? Make sure it's safe. And then we'll meet you there. It's like, Jesus. But he's got a kid, so I get it.
Oh, I'll
be the guinea pig.
Tommy has brass balls. And he goes into all these dangerous places and is very brave. It's just funny then when that same guy, like when he'll call me up and he'll be nervous about something, I'm like, Tommy, like,
you've worn
worse. Bulletproof vests in like the middle of gang wars. Like,
yeah,
you've already lived that life. Like, why are you getting nervous now, man?
It's good though. I think that's part of it. That's part of him being brave, for sure.
Tommy does amazing work.
I agree.
And Brandon Buckingham as well. Like, they go to the stories that people don't want to cover or get ignored. And, like, it is cool to see Tommy doing more. I can tell. He's been calling me a lot about it. I could tell when he's really getting into something. But, like...
And he has the Mexico itch.
That's what I'm saying. The cross-border stuff involving the cartels, he is really getting into that right now. So there's going to be... he already put out, like, one document. Really.
The TJ story.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are our same guys.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to do more of that, so people stay tuned for that. What else you got coming up? Where have you been spending the most time? Or do you not want to say that? You don't have to say that.
Not saying that. What a crazy question. Why can't you ask me that
off
camera?
No,
these people don't care.
I don't mean like give me the town or whatever. I'm saying like if there's a regional area.
Honestly, I've been between Mexico, U.S., and Canada these past few months.
Well, that's really regional, but
I'll
take it.
But seriously, because I've been covering both borders and I've been covering the cartel connection that goes transnationally.
Yeah.
So I've literally had to be everywhere. Someone actually... So Cash Patel was on Rogan I think yesterday. Yeah, yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And he said the whole Canadian cartel connection thing again. And someone tagged me in it on Twitter and said, "Looks like we're not going to be seeing much of you down south anymore, Kat. It's all in your backyard." And I was like, I'm not fucking leaving. I'm not fucking leaving. Yeah. I'm going to just
But it's everywhere. Of course it's in your backyard there, but like they're operating out of Mexico
My
too.
backyard
Like,
is huge. My backyard is
your
fucking
backyard's
NAFTA
big.
at this point. So I'm everywhere because I want to cover all of it, and I want to be on the ground covering it. And I think that that's what a lot of my viewership appreciates, is that I
Yes.
just go and show them what's going on, and I try to do it in the most raw, best of my ability. You know, like Vice style back in the day.
Yes, I agree.
That's what I want to do. I want to show people exactly, and they can form their own opinions. They can take my analysis and they can tell me to shove it up my ass, or they can appreciate it. It doesn't matter. But I want to give as much thorough context as possible from where it's happening, showing them with as if it's their own eyes, basically.
Well, you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, any
last words?
last words?
In case
or
y'all
not
don't see me
necessarily-
again? Shit.
I wasn't gonna say that.
You
I
were
got
thinking
morbid
it.
fast. I might have been thinking it.
I knew it.
But are there any wild stories you want to tease that you're working on right now, or stuff you don't want to talk about?
Yeah,
yet?
we could. I really like go to watch my Borderland Dispatches.
Link in description.
Because the great thing about that is I have been given this opportunity to literally cover whatever I want.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a dream. So I
Shout out to Rocco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and Bruna.
Yep.
She's a great producer. Thank you
It's
for everything
awesome.
you do. So I have been given the opportunity to show what if I think it's important, if I think the audience thinks it's important, I'm gonna go cover it. So this crude oil thing, especially because it has ties to CJNG, is really popping off. So, and because there's this huge crackdown on fentanyl and human smuggling, I think that the cartels are going to start to put a lot of their attention and resources and energy into the crude oil to make it even more lucrative to the crude oil theft. So I'm going to go to Brownsville and I'm going to cover how they're getting it in and who the fuck is buying it. And also what I want to cover that we always talk about is which American produce companies are buying the avocados from the cartels. Because I know that
I want to know all about that.
well, baby, I've got names for you, and I've reached out to them, and they keep telling me no comment. Wouldn't you think that as a company, you would want to ensure to your audience or to your consumer that you are not importing cartel avocados from the cartels directly?
I would think you'd want to assure them that.
Mm-hmm. So why aren't they ensuring them that?
You got any names yet, or
Yeah,
you
I
still
do
waiting?
actually. Let me pull it up.
Ooh,
I'll give you names.
I'm gonna go check my sticker on my avocados out there.
Oh, that would be sick if you had one of them.
I have like 20 in the fridge. I eat at least one avocado every single day.
All right, avocado.
That's good.
It's very,
Okay,
it's very
so
good for
Mission Produce is one of them that I was told.
you. Mission Produce.
Yeah, and
Bad
then
Mission Produce.
so I basically asked Mission Produce. I asked them a few questions, but one of the questions was, what protocols or safeguards do you have in place to verify that your suppliers are operating independently of cartel control or coercion? I also asked them, has Mission Produce made any sourcing changes in response to security threats or cartel-related violence in Michoacan and Jalisco? Hi, Katarina. Thank you for reaching out to Mission Produce. Unfortunately, we aren't able to accommodate an answer to the topics mentioned. Thank you for your understanding. There's another one that I
Very disappointed in you, Mission Produce.
Yeah.
Don't buy
Another.
avocados from Mission Produce.
Hold on, we got another one.
Oh, there's more?
There's one more brand that I reached out to.
Where's
'cause
Mission Produce based out of?
I think California or Texas. It's gonna be one of the two. Sorry, let me pull it up.
And this is strictly based on the avocados.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Deep's got it over here. Mission Pro 3 stars on Google reviews. Not good.
None of those.
No, that's the wrong one.
What?
That's the wrong one.
Actually,
That
that
can't be it.
that would be
can't
fucking crazy.
Swedesboro. The old studio was in Mullica Hill.
Look,
like
they have
4
even a
miles
Mexico
from there.
section right there.
So it is Mission Produce, and they're based out of Jersey.
That could be a Jersey.
God damn it! Why'd you have to find this, Deef? They're Swedesboro.
Could be a Jersey.
It's
warehouse.
definitely your fucking avocados. And you know what's crazy? I can't find the other company that I reached out to right now. It was a few
They
weeks
get a
ago.
stay of execution then.
You know what's crazy though is you tweeted.
I mean that figuratively, not literally, for YouTube reviewers.
Oh, I'm like the audience will know that. You tweeted that photo of avocado and you tagged me and you were like, "Are my avocados bad because the cartels are fighting?"
Yeah, that shit you saw it. It was like half
They
black.
probably fucking follow you on Twitter, especially if you guys are from the same state. They're probably shitting a brick, and that's why they didn't respond to my email properly.
Because of my tweet about my bad avocado.
Yeah, you're sabotaging my job.
Sorry, didn't mean to do that.
You're sabotaging
I
Mission
just want
Produce.
fresh avocados. I don't know why this is too much to ask. You know, we're good.
I knew it was
All right,
California.
it's California. All right, sorry to wait. We gotta
You have to,
apologize
like-
to our friends in Swedesboro. It's not you guys. Let's make a note to edit out camera 5 from that part, from that Mission Produce. I don't want to defame anybody. So Mission Produce is based out of Oxnard, California. Found in now.
Okay, but
Actually,
wait.
probably that's one of their logistics centers. Maybe.
Okay, the
in
point
Swedesboro.
is, what we have to really give discretion for is that this is all alleged. We don't know
That's right.
if they are sourcing their avocados from farms that are run by cartels, and if they are allegedly or whatever, I'm alleging here, but if they are, we don't know if they know that that's what's happening. Okay.
So they could be innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the sake of
For the
legal
sake of,
rights.
That's right.
For the
We
sake
are-
of
we are
legal rights, they could
making
be innocent.
No claims right here. So whatever lawyer's watching this,
You have no case.
totally alleged. There's no case in court.
Speculation.
In fact, I'll bet your clients are squeaky
Okay,
clean.
you don't have to go that hard
They've
into it.
never
Relax.
done anything wrong. They don't even know what a cartel is.
Are you their lawyer now? Jesus.
Hypothetically, we got to do damage control right
No,
now.
actually, though.
Yeah.
'Cause
I do have to look at that just to see if that's the same company. In all fairness, in all seriousness, too, to see if that's the same company and that's just.
I'll show you their logo so
We'll
that.
bleep it if not.
Yeah.
Just make a note of that.
Hold on. Let me actually give you
Give me the what?
the logo so that you can make sure that that's actually
Yeah. Send that to me and that's perfect.
red and blue.
All right, cool. So we will put your link to your new show with Ironclad.
Yeah, go
down
watch
in the
my show,
description,
Borderline Dispatches. Go
as well as
subscribe to
X.
my Substack
Substack as
because
well.
I still I will always maintain my Substack where I do, article deep dives or even just me rambling about certain topics that people are asking about. We also have a group chat on there where people can directly connect with me and ask their questions. So go on there, become a paid subscriber so I can continue to buy non-cartel sourced avocados.
That's right. And Carolina, thank you so much for being here as well.
Thank you for having
And people
me.
can follow you on Instagram. We'll put that link down below. So if any ladies out there need their nails done and you're going through California, this is your girl.
Yes, Dan looks nails.
All right. At Sen Lux Nails. Kat, Carolina, thank you so much.
Thank you, Julian.
you.
All right. Everybody else, you know what it is. Give it a thought. Get back to me. Peace. Thank you guys for watching the episode. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and smash that like button on the video. They're both a huge, huge help. And if you would like to follow me on Instagram and X, those links are in my description below.